Okay, so what you're about to see in this video is an entire mix from literal start to finish. Right now, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna let you hear the final product as far as what the client approved of and let you hear that versus the rough that they originally sent. Okay, so in the session, this is the original up top, and this is the final mix that the client approved of at the bottom. I'm gonna solo between both of these back and forth as this plays, just to give you an idea of what it sounds like. Check this out.
Contigo yo sigo hasta el fin, ya no miro para atrás. Yo sigo bendecido por tu gracia, agradecido. Estaba muerto, ahora vivo, por eso llegó la hora a celebrar. A celebrar. Y no me arrepiento, seguimos 100%, viviendo el momento. Llegó la hora, un brindis para las buenas y malas. Por la noche larga sin las madrugadas y no me arrepiento.
So when I listen to those back and forth, I can tell that in the original, it was a lot thinner and brighter and really didn't have as much body and mid-range and just weight as the newly mix has. Now, that was one of the notes that Cardec, the client, had made to me, where he said he wanted more weight, more body, more fullness, and that is what I feel like the final mix brings to the table versus the original. But nonetheless, I'm gonna let you see this entire mix from start to finish right now. We're gonna skip to that video. This video is in the future, but enjoy the video. Literally, you're gonna watch the mix from how we set up the session to the final place that we got, and then I made tweaks later off video. But nonetheless, you're about to see this whole thing. Hope you enjoy. Let's get to that video. What's going on, y'all? So long story short, what you're about to see is a mix from start to absolute finish. This is actually a song from my guy Cardec. The song is called Celebrar. Please don't kill me for pronouncing it that way. Also, a little fun note is I also have my members from our Discord in the channel as well. They're also watching this live as we speak. Sometimes in our Discord, what we'll do is when I'm doing these things, I'll go completely live, let them see the entire process, stop me if they have any questions, and it's a lot of fun. So we're waving to the members right now. Everybody's there. Hello. And they'll be off to the side. So long story short, what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you the entire layout of the session. I'm going to walk you through the entire mix. I haven't started it yet. Cardec was also so gracious to also send me a reference and things of that nature. And we also had a discussion pre that we wanted this low end and the kick to be a lot more prominent and present. So that's something I'm also keeping in mind with the mix as I'm moving forward. So let's get right to it and let's go to the mix. All right. Okay. All right. So we're in the mix right now, and long story short, I've already color coded everything. So let me walk you through the entire layout of the session. So up above at the very start, we have the mix bus, which we can get rid of this right here. And right here is the mix bus. So obviously this is my 2-track mix bus where everything is coming into. Then below that, we have the reference. So this is the reference track that he sent over as well. Below that, I start with my drums. So I start with kick, rim, snare, those kind of sounds. After that, that is feeding a kick and snare bus. I'll explain why I do that in a little bit. But kick, claps, all of those kind of sounds, just kick, clap, rim, snare kind of stuff is all feeding one bus. After that, I have all of my percussions. So obviously this is all this percussions, perc Brazil, crash, drum fills, drum stacks, perc loop, etc., etc. Those are feeding the perc bus. I'm going to explain why I have that. So basically, I've separated my drums into 2 different buses. One is the kick and snare bus. The other is the perc bus. There's a good reason why I do that and why I have so much more control over things. I'll explain going down the line. For now, let's just continue. Next, I have bass underneath that stuff. So I have the log drum bass drop, sub bass. And then I have a bass bus, so all the bass is feeding this particular bus right here. I do consider the log drum a bass sound. I know some people may put it in like more of a percussion sound, but for me, I do consider it more of a low-end element. So I have it there as far as the log drum is concerned. After bass stuff, then I start to do melodic instruments. So my melodic instruments, you can see that there's analog synth, GTR, guitar, of course, and all of those kind of melodic instruments that are here. You can also see them color-coded in the actual edit window as far as the tracks are a specific way. There's no rhyme or reason why I have these colors. I am actually colorblind, so I like to just see different colors for different sections of the entire mix so I know where I'm at all times or where I have to move and stuff like that. After that, I have more of the sound effects stuff. So that's like swooshes, vocal effects, impact sounds, chants, all kinds of stuff like that are at the very bottom of the entire instrumental sound of the session. After all the instruments are done, aka drums, melody, melodic instruments, pads, all that stuff, now I move on to the vocal sound. So here are my vocals right here. And we don't have a lot of vocals, ironically. And one thing I did mean to do was to change this to this color as far as the outside of it. And long story short, these are all my vocals. So we have ad-libs, card lead, harms, blah, blah, blah. All those ad-libs and stuff like that are here. This is all the vocals. Not much, as you can see. He also did send a delay send print, a verb send print. And I have that separately color coded, so I'm aware of it. So he gave me some of his reverb stuff printed and his verb printed. If you send stems, please take notes from Cardec. He sends really good stems. It makes it really easy for me, and I completely understand everything when I get them. So you can print your effects. I'm super fine with that, and I love to use the effects that the client has. Yes, I'm going to add to that, but at the same time, I love when a client sends the sound of what it already was. I feel like that's very powerful, and that means the world to me, and it makes everything for me so much easier, because then I just get the mix as opposed to trying to reconstruct their sound, which is okay. If you want me to do that, then that's fine. All right. After that, we have time-based effects. Time-based effects meaning verbs, delays, etc. All that stuff comes after the vocal sound, as far as the vocals and stuff like that. Now, after that, what I have is, and I've actually changed this position as of lately. After the time-based effects, I have the 8 auxes, the 8 most important 8 auxes of my entire session. And this is where all the music is coming into, these particular 8 auxes. So I have drum outs, bass outs, music 1, music 2, I'll explain that in a second, vocal outs, which is basically all the lead vocal stuff, background vocals. Then I have effects out, which is basically the time-based effects. So all the time-based effects have their own specific spot. And then sound effect outs, which is the swooshes, impacts, and things of that nature. This gives me so much more control over the entire mix, especially at the end. Because say, for instance, I say to myself, man, want more vocals. Okay, I can literally just highlight my vocal out, background vocal stem, and turn those up more if I wanted to. For instance, with my effects out, having that by itself, let's say, for instance, I feel like all my time-based effects are kind of muddying up the mix. I can take an EQ and literally put a shelf on all that low-end stuff or resonance that I don't like on the whole thing as far as time-based effects. And sometimes I've been noticing that I've been doing that, and it's been clearing up the mix a lot with that kind of move. Not doing a low cut, but just doing a shelving EQ so I don't disrupt the phase so much. Long story, we'll get to that. Why do I have a music 1 and a music 2 outs? Or why don't I have just one music aux? Reason being is because I use it to create a little bit more separation. And what I mean is I'm looking at these 8 auxes like a summing mixer. So music 1, I'll have pianos, but sometimes that instrument also has a pad playing at the same time. So what I do is I try to separate those instruments that are playing at the same times to just give me a little bit more separation out of the sound. I'll explain how that works because I have a plugin on here that also accentuates that relationship a bit. So that's why I have music 1 and music 2. It's just to give me a little bit more separation between 2 elements that also play at the same time, especially when there's a lot of instrumentation. At the very end of that, I have my full auxment technique, which is something that I'll show you if I wind up using it, but it's just a great tool for me to just dial in depth quickly, width quickly, mono center focus quickly if I wanted, and transient if I wanted at any moment. I actually just did a tutorial on it. It might be out by the time this video is out, but I'll give a full detailed breakdown on that soon. If I do have it out, I'll put a link in the description for it. And that is the lay of the land of the entire session. Right now, I have absolutely nothing on my mix bus, and that is the whole record. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to play you the reference, verse and chorus, so we can get an idea, get our ear used to what this sounds like, what the client already enjoys, and this is their rough, and then we'll get to mixing. So right now, let's listen to about the verse or hook, the verse and hook of the entire song. So this is the record. This is Celebrar. I don't know why I can't say that word. I'm terrible at that. By Cardec.
Un brindis para las buenas y las malas, por la noche larga sin las madrugadas. Y no me arrepiento, seguimos 100%, viviendo el momento. Llegó la hora a celebrar, a celebrar. Y no me arrepiento, seguimos 100%, viviendo el momento. Llegó la hora a celebrar, tiempos buenos y los mal. Cuando se pone feo, yo sé que conmigo estás. Tú me hiciste libre, me sacaste de la oscuridad. Contigo yo sigo hasta el fin, ya no miro para atrás. Yo sigo bendecido, por tu gracia agradecido. Estaba muerto, ahora vivo, por eso llegó la hora a celebrar.
Cool. So that is the record. Super high energy. Just a great feeling. I know how he likes his percussions. I know how he likes his vocals. The one thing, like I said, that I noted was the drums. And I was like, hey man, how would you feel if I made these drums like bang? And he agreed. So that's the one thing I think from a different standpoint that you're going to see me give more precedent to in comparison to the rough. I want to be close to his rough. I want it to feel better, but I don't want to run so far from the sonics of his rough. So I'm going to keep that in mind. All right. So ready to mix. So now let me listen to my stems as they stand right now. And this will be a great moment. So I'm going to fast forward to the chorus. Check this out. Okay, so right now, one thing to note is that I have no headroom, right? When I look at my mix bus, I'm like, wow, I'm going over 0. So here is probably, to me, the most important thing on earth, and that is gain staging the mix and setting up the entire gain structure of the whole thing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to highlight all my stems, and I'm going to turn this way down. All of the stems, from the stem side, I'm going to turn this way down to give myself a lot more headroom. So I'm going to turn this down, let's say about 12 dB. And now let's see what our mix bus is saying to us as far as headroom is concerned. Okay, cool. So now I'm seeing negative 8.2 dB of headroom. I want more headroom. Just because I really want to make sure that I have room to enhance the balance of the kick at some point and enhance the balance of some of the things that I'm hearing and things of that nature. I just want to make sure that I'm in control and I have plenty of headroom. I don't want any issues with that. So I'm just giving myself plenty of headroom to breathe. And I know you're like, well, you're turning it way down. It's okay. Because guess what? We're going to turn it right back up. Not from the clip gain standpoint, but at the end as far as everything is concerned. So now I've turned it down even more. Let me see where we're at headroom wise. Okay, we're at negative 10 dB of headroom. I'm cool with that. I can work with that. And now what we're going to do is we're just going to start the mix. So long story short, what I'm going to do is I am going to basically try to reassemble the entire drum sound right now. So basically no EQ, no plugins or anything. I'm going to get the kick to a place where I like it, the clap, everything. Just kind of recreate his drum structure from a volume standpoint and just do a fader mix on his drums. That's it. So I'm gonna do a straight up just fader mix on his drum sound. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna use my reference to know, oh, I'm in a similar place or I'm off, etc., etc. And then I'll go from there. All right. So here is his song, which I'm now gonna turn down because ours is so much quieter now. I'm gonna turn it down as well. I'm going to take all of his other sounds as far as these are concerned, and I'm going to mute it. Cool. And now I should just be hearing drums like so. Beautiful. And now let me listen to my reference.
Llegó la hora de celebrar. A celebrar.
Right now, I'm just trying to get myself to a level where I feel like it's similar as far as the drums and the original mix. It's the original reference. Right now, what I do know is obviously there is a limiter on that song, so I know I have to turn it down just a little bit more in order to get like a kind of balance on the two, and then I'll raise that reference as we go later down the line. But I'm just trying to find like a level balance for it.
Llegó la hora de celebrar.
Okay. And also one thing I know about Cardec, he uses guard particle at 100%. So what I'm going to do for my mix, which I don't typically do, is I'm going to turn my guard particle on at 100% because the difference between that rough and the mix, this sound is so ingrained into that rough, and it's such a unique sound with guard particle. So if I know the client has guard particle on at 100%, I'm also going to have my guard particle on at 100% to kind of make sure that I'm still staying within the purview of what they've loved already with the rough. So turning on my guard particle 100%, no limiter at all. And now let's listen to that. Okay.
Llegó la hora de celebrar.
Okay, cool. Let's turn up the ref a little bit more.
Llegó la hora de celebrar.
Okay, cool. In a similar place. I'm cool with that. Next thing I'm going to do before I go any further, I'm about to do my fader balance mix on these drums. I'm going to turn on my SPL meter. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to get myself on my speaker as far as my knob to a spot of about 75 dBA to about 80 dBA. Shout out Ryan Schwab, Ben Thomas for kind of putting me on to that as far as my listening environment, being careful and not killing myself and destroying my ears. So I'm going to put this right here, and I'm going to find that level where I feel like, where I see it's about 75 dBA to 80 dBA on my SPL meter. So for you, you heard no difference, but for me, these are my outputs of my speakers that I'm actually turning it up, and that's it. Also, one thing, gotta turn this bad boy this way. I think I knocked it. All right, cool. All right, I'm ready to go. So now I'm gonna be doing like a fader balance on this and trying to get that level to where I like it. One sec.
Llegó la hora de celebrar. Llegó la hora de celebrar.
Doesn't sound like I even hear that really. One second. So let's fast forward. Let's see what it sounds like.
Llegó la hora de celebrar.
I'm not hearing that in my mix. Not really hearing that in my mix version as far as that perk Brazil. That's interesting. what I mean is I'm not really hearing that in his mix in particular with the rough. Oh, it's there. It's just very quiet. And so that lets me know that's what the client likes. The client doesn't want this to be the most aggressive thing up front. So I'm going to turn mine down. And that's exactly why I'm doing this, because I'm reconstructing his balance for the most part. Even though I think I kind of want it a little louder. But for now, I'm just going to put it in a spot where I feel like it's similar to the rough. Ironically, Cardec just put in the chat, he said, nah, that should be louder. Cool, because I did want it louder. I was like, oh, I want that louder. That should smack. Cool. So shout out to having a client in the room with you. He's over my shoulder, which is great. So I'm going to turn that up just a little bit. What's that?
Sé que conmigo estás.
Now, one thing I will say is now listening to that particular sound, it's so, to me, I'm like, I feel like it belongs more on the snare side because it's layered with the actual clap sound. So in my head now, I'm like, oh, you know what? Actually, I like you more up here with the actual clap sound because it's such a layer that I feel like accentuates or just should be all in one. So I'm putting that up here now for this. So one sec. For sure. Cool, so I'm putting it up there with that. So now what I'm gonna do is.
Bueno y lo mal cuando me arrepiento, seguimos 100% viviendo el momento. Me
So right now, what I'm trying to do, and this is an interesting part of it, I'm trying to find that level that I put the snare that doesn't take away from the impact of when the drums come back in. So when I have that snare right now, as far as that snare build up really loud, it kind of takes away from the impact of when the drums come in. So what I'm doing right now is I'm saying, let me find a spot for this snare build up that doesn't feel like it takes away from the impact of when the drums come in. Because I want when the drum come in to be boom, 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 boom. But sometimes to me, it's about playing with people's ear and perception, where it's like, here's this thing that's kind of quiet, and then this will make that thing that comes in next sound much louder and more impactful. So now the snare is like this, tick, tick, tick. So when the drums come in, you don't feel it as much because that contrast is not off, but just different in a sense of loud thing to quiet thing. I'd rather go quiet thing to loud thing as far as the excitement and stuff like that. So I'm going to turn it down just a little bit. I'm going to find my spot, and then I'm going to also figure out a way to compensate for that, for what Cardec kind of wants in the record. See how in the rough, that takes away from the drum sound to me. So this is something that I'm going to do, and then massage and figure out how to find that middle ground between myself and the client on that particular thing, to try and make sure that those drums, when they come in, feels very impactful. So that's something that is a big difference to me that I'm hearing between the two. So. Key, what's up with you? I see Key say, yo. Cool. So that's it. So that's all my drums are in for the most part. All right, cool. Now I'm cool on that for the moment. Listening to the reference again. Okay, cool. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna start actually adding some processing to this. I'm gonna be enhancing things, bringing things out, and the whole nine, and kind of shaping the entire thing. I'm still not gonna put a limiter on just yet. This is gonna be basically the start of my drum processing as far as the drums and their individual stems and stuff like that. So let's get to it. So first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go over to this almighty kick, and I'm gonna get a little bit more out of the kick for the most part. So first thing I'm gonna do is, and shout out for Cardec actually putting me onto this. He put me onto my own EQ, by the way. And using this for kicks. I really enjoy using this for kicks to get a little bit more out of the bottom, or a little bit more warmth out of the kick, or whatever I'm looking for. So I'm going to add a little bit more bottom to the kick for the most part. Before I do that, I'm going to look at how much my kick is peaking at. I'll explain why in a second. Okay, my kick is peaking at about 19.2. Cool, just added a little bit more bottom and presence to the kick, just a little bit more bottom. And now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go over to my gold clip. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna try to get a little bit more sustain out of the kick. I was peaking at 19.6 before. Let me see what I was peaking at before. I forgot, sorry. 19.2 on the peak of the kick. And now this is what I'm using gold clip for. I know that before I added that little bump on the kick that I was peaking at about negative 19.2. So what I'm gonna do in this particular one is try to match that same output of the actual kick sound, which should be about negative 19.2. So ceiling should be about negative 19.2. One sec. Okay, now check this out. Right now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna bypass those two plugins back and forth on the kick. I want you to keep in mind, before this processing, the peak was negative 19.2. After the processing, negative 19.2. So you're gonna hear a perceived loudness difference, a fullness, a thicker kind of sustain on the kick, and how it kind of fills up the speakers a little bit more without sacrificing any headroom. So check this out, without first. So just as a little bit of a thickening of the entire kick, but again, I didn't eat up headroom, so I know that at the end of the day, I got more perceived loudness out of the kick as opposed to just tricking myself with loudness. So it's a thicker, fuller kick off rip right now for me. And you can clearly hear just with that one move where the kick difference between now that reference and in the new mix, you're like, oh, okay, like kind of have a little bit more bottom of the kick. But again, I didn't sacrifice a bunch of headroom. It's not just me turning it up. It's more or less me just kind of enhancing that kick and really pulling the sustain with the gold knob. Like that's what I feel like it does. I feel like it just kind of makes things feel like they sustain a little bit more. So I love it on kicks because it just thickens the kick up and fills it up and just makes it a little bit more fuller sounding. So that's what that is. Moving on. So this is a total sound to me. So as far as this snare sound, like this is the whole snare sound for the most part. And to me, I don't want to disrupt that balance of what he's created for the most part. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to also take this snare layer and I'm going to pull it down to about negative 2.9 as well. And then I'm going to increase things gradually if I want to, if I need to. But being that all of this is basically his balance of his snare sound as far as the percussion, I want it to be the same. I want to maintain the integrity of what he had already. So I'm going to turn this down to negative 2.9 since the other ones are also that. And then if I need to turn it up in its totality, I will. What I'll do is I'll come over here, create an aux, and this aux will be me affecting the entire sound of that snare slash rim kind of feeling at once, because I don't want to disrupt his balance of what he already created. So let's do it like this. Kick, snare. Let's take this, put this here. Just making this thing. Let's call it all claps. Boom. Bring this here. And that's why I kind of like Pro Tools, because, you know what I'm saying, that was fast, you know what I'm saying? I know people are like, boo, boo this man. All claps. Cool. All right, so we have everything coming to this one bus. So one thing I am noticing is there's a little bit of low end like happening here. And to me, I'm like, hey, that might be getting in the way of my kick a little bit as far as this little piece. Hear it, listen close. So I don't want to get rid of that completely, but I do want to kind of put my ear on it and tap into that sound and see if I can kind of get more out of my kick because I kind of make space for it. And you know what I hear? I hear that low end on that clap sound is actually reinforcing the kick, and I actually like it. So I'm not going to take that. I'm not going to take that stuff out. I actually like how it's reinforcing the kick. I think Cardec did a good job of selecting this sound because it feels like the phase relationship between them is actually reinforcing it. They feel aligned. So I'm going to keep that. Wow. I don't know if y'all noticed, like when I took that low end out of that clap kind of feel, I feel like I lost some impact of the kick. So I'm going to keep it. I'm not going to move it. And that's the best part is when you make a decision that you go, oh, be honest with yourself. Like, oh, it's unnecessary. It's actually taking something away. I don't like it. Move on. And that's what I'm going to do with that one. That actually really, really did make a big difference. So I'm going to leave that alone. All right, let's get a little bit more impact out of this. 1 second. Cool, just use Rosetta compressor to accentuate the transients just a little bit, really slow on the attack, more open side, and then a much faster release to kind of make things feel a little bit more snappy. And we added the hype button, which gives it a little bit more saturation, kind of makes things feel a little bit more aggressive. I like it a lot on percussions as of recently. All right, next thing I'm gonna do is, what was that one thing I was gonna do? Let's open up virtual mix rack. Go open up virtual mix rack, and this is gonna help me with the cut of the sound. I'm gonna add a little bit of a high end kind of pop to it. I'm gonna control that high end as well, but I'm gonna add a little bit of a kind of cut to the whole drum sound. Excuse me, the snare sound for the most part. I wanted to cut a little bit more. I'm reading comments. 1 second. Where is it? It's my Air EQ. There it is. Okay, cool. This is my favorite EQ on earth when it comes to snares, claps, rims. If I want this thing to cut, but not in an abrasive way, that right there. Like the Air EQ in the virtual mix rack, I love it. I think it sounds awesome. With that, it just, the way it adds air, like clarity is just insane on snares and percussion. Shout out to there's members here also watching and stuff like that. So I'm just saying, hey, what's up, y'all? What's going on? See my guy Great Keys, all y'all, Anya, Key, everybody. What's good? Cool. Now what I'm going to do is I want a little bit more center focus out of the entire snare sound. And the way I'm going to get that is I am going to use my 4-auxment technique. And I'm going to use this. And basically what this is going to do is this is going to give me a lot more of the center focus out of the quote unquote snare sound. So check this out. Cool. So I like that center focus I'm getting out of it. I'm going to come back down a little bit on the all claps bus now, just to kind of compensate for all that volume that I kind of put into it. 1 second. Cool. All right, I'm cool for right now. Moving on. So we got all of this pretty much there. The snare build up. We'll come back to the snare build up. I want to go for more of the stuff that's happening in the moment. Let's go to this perk loop. Interesting 2 sounds. 1 second. I'm gonna manipulate them independently because they don't happen all the time together, but I'm gonna be mindful that they do happen together at times. So right now what I'm trying to decide is which one of these elements is gonna give me the width on my drums. I think I'm going with this one. Actually, no, I'm not, because it has more of a snare kind of percussive sound, which I feel like I need to turn up more, being that it is kind of accentuating that snare sound, which might actually also make me move it over to that snare layer. But for right now, I'm going to manipulate this perk loop and see if I need anything from it. So all I did was, and all I heard from me first personally was just easing up on some of the high end of the perk sound. because it has more of like a mid-range, kind of low-mid kind of feel. And then secondly, just using Pan Man to just give it a little bit more center space and kind of just widen the entire sound. So I'm using this to kind of give me a little bit more contrast between the kind of mono stuff in the drums, and then saying, okay, well, let's push this out a little bit and kind of get it out of the way of things and let it fill up the spaces on the sides, and just make it feel more stereo. And that's it. That's all I'm going to do today. I have nothing else for that. Moving on. All right, now I have a really big decision to make about this, and I'm gonna take a listen to something right quick. Cool. So I'm gonna leave it out of the snare sound for now, and just treat it as its own perk kind of loop and stuff like that. First thing I want to do is ease up on that high end a bit. That scratchiness, which is very much so a part of the record. I'm very aware, but I'm gonna ease up on it just a little bit. I also want to see what this relationship feels like with the kick. I feel like the kick popped forward a little bit when I kind of took some of that stuff down in that particular stem. 1 second, without first. One second, this is one of the moments where I gotta close my eyes. 1 second. Once again, I feel like it's adding something to the kick that I'm just like, don't want to disrupt that relationship. It does something with the kick that I'm just like, I'm not mad at you. Very interesting, but that is adding something to the kick as well. Leaving that alone. And see, it'd be things like that where you think to yourself like, okay, yeah, if I get rid of some of the low end on that particular sound, yeah, then, you know, I should have more presence on the kick and blah, blah, blah. But sometimes, you know, when I've noticed with dealing with phase and low end, sometimes not the case. Sometimes things reinforce each other in a way that I feel like, oh, that actually feels like that kind of blends well together. And so when I'm listening to that, I'm like, I like the way it kind of feels together. There's a difference between them going back and forth, but I kind of like the way it feels together. So again, not going to disrupt that balance and just being mindful of that. All right, listen to his bell funk again. Cool, not mad at that. Listen. Got nothing for that. That's it. That's all I like on that. Just a little EQ just to kind of tame some of the high end. Okay, cool. That sound. I might want to do something a little aggressive to that. One sec. All right, let's make that feel a little bit more aggressive and mean. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna open up the CLA 76. It's something I've been doing recently on like drums like this, like kind of like fills and stuff, and making them feel a little bit more like rawr. Yes, I said rawr just now. Wow, I'm a grown man. I am going to now do some parallel compression. Shout out to honestly Waves putting the mix knobs on these now. I'm gonna do some parallel compression and make it feel a little bit more like rah rah rah, and just kind of shoot at you. So check this out. I'm dying. If y'all, I'm laughing. Sometimes you see me periodically laughing because they're in the chat in Discord making me laugh. Just to let you know, just so you don't think I'm just crazy. All right. So let's put this here. Just makes it a little bit more exciting, kind of sustains things a little bit more, and just adds a little bit more excitement to it. That's it. And because it's by itself, I'm not mad at like the EQ and stuff like that. I might want to just tone down like one little woo kind of sound. Woo. Where is it? Cool, thank you very much. Moving on, let's see what this crash is doing to me. cool. Just kind of repurposed it a little bit, moved it a little bit further down the register from a EQ standpoint. Just got rid of some of the high end and kind of opened up and just kind of raised a little bit of that low level stuff to help it sustain a little bit more. And that's it. Nothing extreme. Moving on. Next thing, let's see. What is our perk loop? Bella Funk. We did that. Drum fill. Let's listen to drum fill. I might do the same exact thing I did with the parallel compression.
Que conmigo estás, tú me hiciste libre.
I just want to ease up on the high end just a little bit on that. I could use spec rap for it, but I'm just enjoying just using simple EQ for it. The reason why I took out some of the high end on that is because I feel like it was stealing the show a little bit. I wanted for when the drum sound to come back in, for it to steal the show from a high end standpoint, from a low end standpoint. So it kind of has this do-do-do-do-do-shan. It was a little bright on the drum fill to me, and I feel like that was taken away from the brightness on the drum sound when it came back in. So listen to it now. Like it's like it came back in and it was as opposed to before it was like this. The high end didn't really take it away from me in the drum drop. So that time, so having it this way, me just kind of like just help with that contrast a little bit. Moving on. Yeah, I like that. Okay, getting mixed notes from the client right there. He said, I like that. Good. I'm glad he likes that. Okay, cool. All right, continuing. Not doing much. You see, barely anything. Again, shout out to all the amazing engineers that I've been able to talk to, like, constantly, and just teaching me that, bro, less is so much more, dog. Like, less is so much more. Just do what it needs, not what don't put your ego in this. Like, it's just like, oh, I'm gonna use this saturator. It's like, bro, I've been using EQs and just basic stuff for the most part. Cool. So I'm good on all of that. I think that's my drum sound. Now what I'm going to do is I am going to move on over to the kick and snare bus and the perk bus. And with these two buses, I'm going to do some processing on the kick and snare stuff all together. And then I'm going to do some processing on the perk bus all together. Reason why I like to do this is because it gives me a little bit more control over the total drum sound, being that I'm messing with the kick and snare. And now that I'm messing with the kick and snare bus, it allows me to give it more of that center focus and punch. And then with the perk bus, it allows me to create more of a width and space for the record, as well as liveliness. So I'm looking at the kick and snare bus as you are my center focus, you are my foundation. And then I'm looking at the perk bus as you are my perspective, meaning you're going to be the thing that is more lively. The transients are going to be moving, and it feels a little bit wider too as well. And that's going to give me like this drum sound that I like, that has depth, width, punch, and all the things that I like. So I've started to separate those two because I like to have that control over those elements of the drums, and that's it. So we're going to open up knock on the kick and snare bus, and we're going to add a little bit more center focus punch to the mids, to the entire sound. So I'm really going to accentuate the transient basically of the kick and snare aux. Cool, so got a little bit more center focus out of that whole thing, a little bit more punch and just kind of transient out of that stuff. And now we're gonna go to the perk buzz. And with the perk buzz, all I'm gonna do is add a little bit of saturation to it. I enjoy it in good mode on the oversampling, which I believe that's what it is. If I'm not mistaken, sorry, decap if it's not oversampling, but I believe this is more of like the oversampling kind of algorithm within it. And I do enjoy the top one with this also. And that's it. So now I'm going to add a little saturation to the percussions, and I'm going to notice a little bit more excitement, liveliness, and just get it to feel a little bit more excited. I don't know why I did this dance move, by the way. All right, here we go. Just made things a little clickier, just kind of opened things up a little bit. Nothing crazy, but it just has a feel to it. This is the drums before those two things. And this is the drums after those two things. Cool, feel good about that. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna listen to my reference right quick. Definitely smacking a bit more, you know what I mean? Like I'm like, yeah, there we go. Now the kick is pow, pow. And I feel it feels even more exciting and stuff like that. We're barely getting started, but I already feel like we're cool, we're getting there. Now what we're gonna do is we're gonna move on to the big bad drum bus. And here is my drum bus here. Also, I will inform you that the entire time on these 8 auxes with the drum bus, I have a plugin on. You may have recently seen me talk about this mix head plugin that I'm using. This is what helped me, to be honest, get to just fully mixing in the box, this sound that I'm getting from it. And basically this mix head preset right here is on all 8 of my aux stems. And basically what it's doing is it's kind of me re-emulating my summing mixer, kind of giving me more of that separation, but I also love the saturation that this tape emulation has on everything. I have it at 15 IPS. I find that kind of like reproduces the low end in a way that I like as far as material. So I use it on 15 IPS, and that's what all of these have on it right now. So I've been mixing into this the entire time. If I take this off, you're gonna notice it. For instance, let's check it out. I'll turn it off right quick so you can get an idea what that sounds like. I think the quick key is Shift A, right? Hold on. Yes. Okay. So without first. So I'll open it up so you can see it. Without first. Here we go. Whoops. Sorry about that. Hold on. No. 1 second. Sorry. What did I just do? Ooh. 1 second. Oh. Sorry. Here we go. All right. Let's try that again. Sorry about that. All right. Take a listen. Without first. Just has this texture taste to it that I like a lot, and I felt like that's what was that thing that kind of helped me get out of using analog gear for mixing. Now I'll show you more about that later when we bring in more of the signals. You'll have a bigger difference. You'll hear that difference more, but for right now, just let you know I am mixing into that. Octave. So now we're on to the entire drum bus aux. So this is my like drum bus, the entire thing. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna start off with a guard particle, making sure that I am on the 2 on the oversampling. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna add a little bit of guard particle to my drum bus, and this is gonna kind of open things up a little bit, just give me a little bit more saturation on the drum bus and a little bit more perceived volume, and that's it. So I'm gonna just bring a little bit more kind of perceived volume and saturation to the drum bus in its totality. That's my first step right here. Now, one thing that I'm fully aware of with the guard particle is hitting it a certain way does bring out a certain different reaction from it. So right now I'm seeing that I'm hitting it pretty low. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna drive signal into this a bit more, and then I'm gonna compensate for that on the output to ensure that I'm still maintaining that original balance that I had with the drum sound. So I'm going to crank into this till I'm hitting around those greens, and then I'm gonna turn it down the same amount on the output to kind of compensate for that. So one sec. Please watch your ears right now. Cool. So just gave me a little bit of saturation on those drums and kind of open things up a bit. Moving on. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to open up Almighty Orion. And with Orion, I have my little preset, Devon Start. And basically, it turns everything off. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to find that punch of the kick and accentuate that with this harmonics knob. And I'm going to choose between the 50 hertz setting or the 80 hertz setting and see where I like that punch of the kick to reside. I'm going to crank this as well, so I'm hearing it exaggerated, and then I'm going to back off. So I'm going to start with 80 hertz. And before I even go that far, what I'm going to do is, again, I'm going to compensate for that volume, making sure I'm hitting this at a certain level. I've talked to Jason about this and his guy, Mike, as well, and cranking into this a certain way to get that effect, that full effect of what this plugin is actually doing from a gain staging standpoint. I have no idea what that GIF is. I'm laughing at something in the group chat that they're putting. Okay, cranking into this. I'm in love with that 80 hertz push that it gave it. The push at the 80 setting. I do like the harmonics that is adding. Let me back off just a little bit. It might be a little bit too aggressive, but I liked it a lot. Very happy with that. Okay, cool. So I just added a little bit more bottom on that punch and stuff like that of the kick. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna add this lift. I just got a Harlem shake into Cardec music. I'm dead. Anyway, shout out B-Way in the building. All right, let's add a little bit of lift to this. And what I noticed this does is it kind of like adds a little bit of a lift to the percussions in general. So I'm gonna lift this up a little bit. Love that. So just gave a little bit of a lift to the percussion. Without first. So kind of just lifted things up a bit in its totality. And obviously I'm compensating for that volume increase and stuff like that and kind of matching things. So I'm staying in shape. All right. Next thing we're gonna put in this drum bus is we're gonna open up this orange clip. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna open up my drum pusher preset. And basically I'm gonna get more perceived volume out of this drum sound. And that is basically the premise of the entire thing. I've actually been doing this a lot lately with the drums. I'm going to get a little bit more perceived boom and pow out of the bottom of the kick and just the drum sound. It's gonna basically thicken up the entire drum sound for the most part. So yes, this is the preset I usually use it. So right now what I'm gonna do is this. I'm going to analyze what is the peak of these drums. I'm gonna make sure I'm level matching that from a clip standpoint. So nothing's going past that. So when I bypass it back and forth, I know deep down, okay, I am hitting the same peaks as I was before, as I was after, so that I'm not fooling myself with just a bunch of volume. So with that being said, I'm going to make this 0, make this 0, and then what I'm going to do is I am going to look at what my input is versus what I want my output to be. 1 second. So turn my ceiling to 0, and let's look. Okay, cool. So I'm seeing a peak of about -12 on the plugin. So I'm going to do -12 here. So now I know my ceiling is like, hey, don't go past that. This is where I want you to start soft clipping. If anything goes past that, smack it down. And that's it. All right, let's get it. Now, would I usually do this? No. Did I have a conversation with the client about making those drums smack? Yes. So what I'm doing is I put a lot of weight into this drum sound right now. And that's basically what I did. I just put a lot of weight and body and stuff into the drum sound. And that's what you're hearing. So also keep in mind when I bypass this particular plugin back and forth that they are hitting at that -12 peak. So I'm getting all this body, all this weight out of the drum sound without eating up headroom. And that's the beautiful thing about this particular thing and why I love it so much, because I'm getting so much more out of the drum sound. And I know deep down, I'm not gonna have to probably do so much limiting in order to get the entire overall level of the record to a competitive spot, because I'm getting all that juice and putting all that stuff in the drum sound. So with that being said, before and after, both of these are hitting at the same exact peak without first. just the low end and stuff like that is smacking. So I'm cool on that, and that's basically that. And like I said, any of my members, anything that's watching, if you do have any questions, you just let me know. But they're just busy making jokes, if you could only see. Cool. So that's why I did that. Last but most certainly not least, we're going to do a little bit of limiting on the drums. And once again, this is me just squeezing a little bit more dynamics out of the drum so that I don't have to do so much limiting and things of that nature to get that competition so I can get competitively loud on my mix bus without having to go to my mix bus to pull so much from a limiter. And the reason why I like to do it like this is because I notice that my balance just stays more intact when I go to the thing that I know is going to eat up the most headroom, and I kind of just get those dynamics in control a little bit, kind of tighten those things up and stuff like that. So that's where I'm at with it. And that's kind of why I'm going to do it. I'm going to do a little bit of limiting on it. I like it in modern mode. I used to do crisp a lot, but I've recently come back to modern. I noticed that modern kind of does a nicer job of like retaining low end and low mid energy. So I've just been on modern for a while. What I'm going to do is I'm going to look at the input, see what it was hitting at before, and then I'm going to make sure I put my ceiling to that, and then I'm going to drive into that and basically make sure that the peak that it was before is the peak that it is after. So with that being said, let us look at how much it was hitting at before the limiter. Cool, so it looks like negative 12.4. So I'm gonna set my output ceiling to negative 12.4, like so. I'm gonna bring this down a little bit too. And now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna push into this till I'm getting about a dB to 2 dB of gain reduction, and then I'll leave it at that, and I'll bypass back and forth and you'll hear a sound. So I'm gonna move it up, because I know it's gonna take till about 12 to get there. The difference between the AB of the drum bus before to now is about 2 dB. So it's about a 2 dB difference between these two, but to me it sounds more like 6, 7 dB. So without first. Cool. So all that weight, all that body, all that stuff, just kind of maximized it with the drum bus. And obviously this is also going to my mix head plugin, which is kind of giving it a little more saturation and driving. Okay, we're almost done with this first stage. This is the longest part of the entire mix, in my opinion, just kind of locking in the drum sound. So now the next thing I'm going to do is I am going to take a look at my headroom. This is going to be like my second step of gain staging and gain structuring, because now I'm about to lock in basically the limiters that I'm going to be using and looking at to keep me in check and in balance for the rest of the way. So now I'm going to look at my headroom and see how much I have as of right now. Now, the sick thing about that and why I'm so happy is because before our headroom was negative 10, or negative 11, if you remember, and now we still have that headroom. Like, we still have about negative 10 dB of headroom, which is great because that tells me, oh, we really got genuinely got more out of the drum sound from a perceived standpoint without eating up much headroom. And that's what gets it, like, that's what's most exciting to me, is that I'm like, oh, I feel like we're good. I still got negative 10 dB of headroom with all those things I just did. And that lets me know I'm really putting the juice in the mix, the loudness in the mix, as opposed to trying to pull from my stereo mix bus and get things loud. So I'm feeling good about it. Okay. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm going to do my second step of gain staging, which is basically turning on this limiter, and I'm looking for about a dB of gain reduction. That's it. I'm just looking for about a dB of gain reduction on this. The loudness of our mix is going to rise right now. Be mindful, and I'm compensating for that in my DAW as well. Well, not my DAW, but on my meter, and that's why you see me picking this up now, because I'm about to make it loud. Cool. Occasionally kissing 1 dB with that. Now my second limiter. So yes, I do mix into 2 limiters with it. And now what I'm going to do is I'm looking for about a dB of gain reduction on here, which I know if I put this at 1, I'll get that dB, and that's it on modern mode. Feeling good on my loudness from standpoint for, right now because I'm already hitting at like -9 LUFS. That's just drums, and that's only for about a dB and a half of gain reduction on the limiters, and I'm already hitting that like -9. So I'm like, cool, all the loudness is in the mix so far, so I'm feeling really good about that. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna bring up the level of the 2 track as far as his reference, and kind of put them at a similar spot as far as the loudness, and then now I have a new kind of reference spot as far as where he's at. So I'm going to turn up his reference. Please watch your ears. So still got a ways to go for the most part, but nonetheless, I'm feeling good as far as our drum sound. I definitely feel and hear in mind that I'm like, okay, cool. I think I want to give a little bit more to the edginess of the percussions and kind of the snare sound, because I hear it in his, that and I'm like, okay, cool. So I want to add a little bit more of that and push that in a little bit more, but I have my safety precautions in place so that if I do drive more signal into particular things as far as those concerned, I know that they're being controlled and stuff like that with the soft clipper or the way my maximizer is, and I gave myself enough room that if I do decide to kind of do a little bit of a rebalance, that I'll have the space to do so. So kind of turning this down a little bit to match it, and let me put it like right here. Cool. And here is the moment where I take a nice little break. So I'm going to take a break. I'm actually going to just kind of talk to the people in my my Discord as far as the members and stuff like that. But for me, I'm just going to take an ear break. I locked the drums in for the most part, and now it's time to step away just to kind of give myself a little bit of break, about 15 minutes. And yeah, that's it. So we'll be right back in a second, y'all. Okay, and so we are back. Right now, we're about to work on bass. All right. So let's listen to what we got. Let me also make sure my levels are cool. And that is not what you wanted to hear. That was a double. mute the reference. Rule number 7,700 of mixing. Sorry about that. Let's listen. All right, feeling good. All right, set my levels. All right, let's go to bass now. This mug is clean already. Yeah, it's a lot. It's feeling good. I'm feeling good about it so far. Let me listen to my ref. Yeah, definitely got that fullness on the low end and stuff like that. All right, so now let's go to the bass. And let's look for the main part of the bass sound, which is right here, sub bass. Okay. Before I go there, that's like, it feels like that's like a part of the intro. This feels like this is the main bass right here. So let's go right here to the main bass sound, which is the log drum bass. All right, cool. And now let me listen to my reference. Okay, cool. All right. So what I'm going to do right now is I want to think about this very carefully and very strategically, especially with how Stuart White kind of put that in my head as of recently. Sorry if you didn't know what I'm talking about. Long story short, I'm a big fan of Stuart White. And he kind of put my mind around, instead of doing the whole duck the bass every time the kick hits, he's really put my mind around phase relationships with the kick and bass, and also EQing with the kick and bass to get them to sit together. So I'm just keeping that in mind as I move forward. But for the moment, I'm going to see if I can squeeze a little bit more sub harmonics out of the bass. And then after that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to see if I can grab a little bit more of the speaking part of the bass sound out of it, or the part that I'm going to hear on cell phones. And then I'm going to control that. After I control that a bit, I'm then going to go to my EQ and get that relationship between the two in a place that I feel is great. So I'm going to enhance the bass sound a bit, but then I'm going to also at the very end try to tailor that bass and kick to have a nice relationship with each other. So first thing I'm going to do is I am going to open up knock. Well, before I do that, actually, I'm going to get a little control on the low end, and I'm going to use soothe for this. So I'm going to use soothe to basically follow the fundamental of the bass sound and kind of just give me a little bit kind of like of compression of just like the really, really, really low stuff down there to kind of get that a little tighter and a little more in control so that I can have more room to do certain things. So I'm going to roll this off. Let's open this up. I'm going to open this, and now let's find that fundamental. One sec. Cool. So now on that fundamental, as far as that bass sound, I'm kind of just getting a little bit of compression, attenuating it just a little bit, just to kind of even out the bass sound just a little bit, and just getting a little bit, I said a little bit 1,000 times, just a little control on it. Moving on. Now what I'm going to do is now I'm going to add some subharmonic frequencies to it, now that I got a little bit more control on that particular range, and try to enhance that range altogether. So I'm going to go here. I'm going to go to this, listen to it within the drum sound, and I'm going to listen to it. They're playing a game in the chat of the Discord. Sorry. Every time I say moving on, they're doing something. It's, I don't know what, but it made me laugh. Sorry if you see me randomly laughing. Cool. And what I'm doing is I'm listening to my sub information. So I have my sub on right now just to hear what the low in is doing. Moving on. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up Fab Filter. And with Fab Filter, what I'm going to do is I'm going to find that kind of heard part of the bass. And why I keep saying heard is because I feel like sometimes when people say, oh, I'm trying to, get more, I want to hear the bass a little bit more. What we'll do is we'll turn up the overall. But what you wind up doing is you also turn up that low stuff that you're probably not hearing in this. And so you're eating up a ton of headroom in order to get more of the heard out of the bass. But for me, what I'll sometimes do is I'll go to like the more upper harmonics of the bass and enhance that stuff so that you have more perceived volume of the overall bass sound, as opposed to turning up the whole bass where that bottom end is going to eat up a ton of headroom. So it gives me more perceived volume out of the bass and more of the heard sound of the bass, which is why I'm being cognizant of that and enhancing that right now, and why I have my phone I'm keeping my phone speaker in mind. Like it's that part of the bass that I'm like, how do I get this bass to be a little bit more felt on smaller speakers? So this is my saturate bass. What preset? 60B. Okay, let's turn it down and then we'll rise it up. I like to use gentle saturation. Am I using the transformer? I forgot. I think I changed this recently. But anyway, let's just go for it. So right here is where I feel like I'm getting more of the heard part of the bass. So I'm going to saturate that part right there. Okay, so super subtle, but just gives me a little bit more of that heard feeling in the bass in my speaker sound. Also, I'm turning on, in my Fluid Audio Image 2s, it allows me to also just hear mid-range. So I can press this little button, and now I'm just hearing just the mid-range. So I'm hearing if that mid-range is cutting through on the bass itself too. So I'm just getting more of that cut through on the bass. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to get some more control on it now that I've put all this stuff into it, and just try to get it to kind of compress and breathe within the grand scheme of the mix. So I'm going to move this to about, I have a thing, bass, and I'm going to move it to about right here, and I'm going to get a little bit more control on the bass sound as far as the low end and versus the top end. This is also, this compressor in particular from Neutron, shout out Tizio for putting me onto this and watching him do it. I like that. I like this compressor a lot for low end and stuff like that, because now it's giving me the ability to not have to mult the bass. like I used to do back in the day. Shout out Jason Joshua, Dave Posado. I've seen all those guys and girls do that stuff where they'll split the bass into two tracks, cut off all the low end on one, cut off all the high end on another, and then manipulate them differently from each other to kind of get them to work together and kind of treat the top end of the bass differently from the low end of the bass. This in turn just lets me do that, just one stop shop just in it, so I can manipulate the low end of the bass differently from how I manipulate the top end of the bass. And I'm going to do compression, try to get them to feel in time, and kind of make it kind of pump in time for the most part with everything, and just tighten up the dynamics. Cool. So I still feel like I'm getting that boom, 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 boom. And that's the way I have the release set up. And then at the same time, I'm getting a little bit more control on it too, kind of just taming the low end of the bass a bit. So trying to make it still give me that feeling and push from a transient standpoint as far as that low frequency, but also trying to make sure it's controlled. And that's what I just basically did there, about 2 dB of gain reduction on that bass sound. And this is, to me, when people say, oh, tighten up the bass, this is my vibe. Like, this is where I'm like, okay, cool. This is what I feel like a lot of people go for or mean for the most part. Okay, cool. Next part. Okay, cool. So now I'm going to manipulate the top side of the bass. So... Nice bass, feels tight. It feels like it's sitting in that pocket, and it's chilling, which is crazy to say the bass is chilling. Second to last thing I'm gonna do on this is kind of something I did similar to this is something that similar I did on the drums, where I'm gonna limit the bass just a little bit and basically kind of squeeze a little bit more dynamics out of it and get it a little bit more control and kind of raise that perceived volume of the bass without eating up headroom. Similar thing that I did on the drum sound. So now what I'm going to do is let's look at how much this is hitting for on the input. So I'm seeing a peak of -18. So I'm going to put -18 on this. Then I'm going to crank this, and will it let me? Yeah, it'll let me go. So ISRC1, I've noticed that I like it on bass. It feels rich. It kind of makes things feel thick. So I'm using ISRC1 on this in particular. And now I'm just going to do a little bit of limiting on the bass to about a dB, dB and a half. Cool. So before and after, remember those peaks from what you're hearing before to after are pretty much hitting at around the same level from a peak standpoint, but we got so much more perceived volume out of it. So now I'm going to listen to my original reference.
Si te libré
if you have a sub, like the amount of weight in the difference between those two is ginormous to me, and I'm really enjoying it. I can't wait to put his vocal in that space with the rest of the drums. Now, I am going to attempt to move on over, and instead of doing the typical thing that I'll do with ducking the kick and the bass, I am going to attempt to find that phase relationship as well as that spot in the kick that I want it to win at with the bass. Just trying something new that I've always wanted, that I've been wanting to try. Obviously, shout out Stuart for kind of putting my ear on this. Obviously, I just want to give it a shot and see what it sounds like if I can kind of dial it in. My first thought about it is and I hate to use my eyes, but I am going to use my eyes, and I'm going to see where the prominence of the kick is hitting from. So let me look at where the prominence of the kick is. Better yet, I have a plugin that's going to tell me exactly where the peak is for that fundamental. So I'm going to use up Pro Q4. What y'all be putting in the chat is hilarious, by the way. Looking. Just what Stuart said too, 50 hertz. Okay, cool. That's funny. So 50 hertz, around 50 hertz is where I'm seeing the prominence of that. So now I'm going to go to this bass sound. I'm cool with that. I just took out some of that 50 hertz in the bass, and I'm not mad at it, and I'm cool. And I feel like the kick and bass were feeling pretty cool together. Yeah, I think you got me on that one. You got me, Stuart. Yeah, and I'm good on that. Let me listen to AB to my reference. Feeling good, man. Feeling great. Okay, cool. So bass is in. Now we're going to move on to the vocals, but we're going to take a quick break. Breaks are important. I'm going to take a break. We'll be right back. Okay, and we're back, everybody. And I was just in the Discord, just chatting with everybody in between. If you're not a member and you're watching this, you should be. We have a great time and just sharing game and just getting information from each other, etc., etc. And sometime I go live in the Discord and do this live. Okay, cool. Test. Turn myself down a little bit. I feel like I'm distorted. All right. So now what I'm going to do is we are going to go on over to vocals. That is our next mission in life. Well, actually, yeah, we'll come back to the bass drop and the sub bass parts. We'll come back to that. For now, let's just go right to my vocals because my ears are clean right now. Let's go to vocals. So his lead vocal is right here. I want to go to the part in the chorus where it's the most energetic and most things are happening. Cool. And that's it. What is this on his vocal? What is this? Do I have? No, not that. 1 second. Cool. All right, let's go from here. Let me see. Okay, cool. And let's get it. All right, let's do it. Me hiciste libre, me sacaste de la oscuridad. Contigo yo sigo hasta el fin, ya no miro para atrás. Yo sigo bendecido por tu. Me hiciste libre, me sacaste de la. Me hiciste libre, me sacaste de la oscuridad. Contigo yo sigo hasta el fin, ya no miro para atrás. Yo sigo bendecido por tu gracia, agradecido. Me hiciste libre, me sacaste de la oscuridad. feeling good. I'm feeling good. I'm not going to do much. I'm just going to make it a little bit more clear, kind of roll off some of that low end and stuff like that and try to lift his mid-range just a little bit. I actually like the sound of his vocal. Yeah, I don't mind. I'm not mad at it. This is one of those vocals where I'm like, I'm not going to do much. I feel like I'm not going to do much. And then watch, I wind up doing mad shit. But I think I'm not going to do much. All right, so let's get some more clarity out of this vocal. Take some of that low end out. Right now what I'm doing is I'm just balancing out the tone. So he already has a lot of compression on the vocal sound. And so what I don't want to do right now is take another compressor and compress the entire thing, but rather just kind of pay attention to the nuances that I'm like, I just want to control a little bit of that 3K. I want to control a little bit of that 9K that I'm hearing and just do the compression that way, if that makes any sense from like a multi-band standpoint, but I'm using dynamic EQ. That was very confusing as far as how I explain it. But to my head, this is kind of like me using a multi-band compressor to just say, all right, I just got certain hot spots that I just want to tame and clean before I do any enhancement on the vocal sound, so that what I am enhancing, I'm also taking down some of that stuff that I feel like will come with it when I do it, and try to get things to cut a little bit more and stuff like that. So I'm just kind of taming things so that when I do some enhancements, it's giving me more of the good stuff and not the stuff that I know I'm not gonna like.
Bendecido pa' las buenas. Tú me hiciste libre, me sacaste de la oscuridad. Contigo yo sigo hasta el fin, ya no miro para atrás. Yo sigo bendecido por tu gracia, agradecido. Estaba muerto, ahora vivo, por eso llegó la hora a celebrar. A celebrar. Y no me arrepiento, seguimos 100%, viviendo el momento. Llegó la hora, un brindis. Tú me hiciste libre, me sacaste de la oscuridad. Contigo yo sigo hasta el fin, ya no miro para atrás. Yo sigo bendecido por tu gracia, agradecido. Estaba muerto, ahora vivo por. Tú me hiciste libre, me sacaste de la oscuridad. Contigo yo sigo hasta el fin.
So I'm trying to open up the vocal sound just a little bit. And I'm using split EQ to kind of open up and give me more transient information in that part of the vocal that I feel feels really closed and really tight, and kind of feeling like it's kind of stopping me from having a little bit more dynamics in the vocal sound. So this is me trying to add some transient information to the vocal sound in a particular region to kind of make the vocal feel a little bit more open and a little bit more exciting, but not in the top end. That's not really where I'm looking for that excitement. For the most part in this way, I'm looking for it more in like the mids and the low mids.
Pa' las buenas y las malas, por la noche largas y las madrugadas. Y no me arrepiento, seguimos 100%, viviendo el momento. Llegó la hora a celebrar, a celebrar.
All right, cool so far. And now what I want to do is I want to bring his whole vocal to the front of the house. But before I do that, let's open this thing up on the pull tech and just give him that high-end crispiness that I know he likes. Oh, I need bypass. I need to bypass all of this and stuff. Shout out to everybody that got bypassed, by the way, for reasons like that, where I'm like, wait, you have like 70 pull techs. You're like, which one is the right one? And I'm like, I think this is the one that I have that I actually own. Please, God, open. Oh, no. No. Oh, my gosh. Yo, when that happens, oh, my gosh, your whole life, you go, oh, my God, I'm a bad person. All right, cool, moving on.
Tú me hiciste libre, me sacaste de la oscuridad. Contigo yo sigo hasta el fin, ya no miro para atrás. Yo sigo bendecido por tu gracia, agradecido. Estaba muerto, ahora vivo, por eso llegó la hora a celebrar. A celebrar. Y no me arrepiento, seguimos 100%, viviendo el momento. Llegó la hora, un brindis pa' las. Tú me hiciste libre, me sacaste de la oscuridad. Contigo yo sigo hasta el fin, ya no miro para atrás. Yo sigo bendecido por tu gracia, agradecido. Estaba muerto, ahora vivo, por eso llegó la hora a celebrar. A celebrar. Tú me hiciste libre, me sacaste de la oscuridad. Contigo yo sigo hasta el fin, ya no miro para atrás. Yo sigo bendecido por tu.
Cool, so kind of moving the vocal a little forward. So what I did was I added a little bit of high end, kind of like brightness and set and just kind of crispiness to the vocal, trying not to do too much. Obviously the client will give me notes if it's too much. And then what I did was I used the de-esser, which has been there the whole time, and I used some of the center focus aux in my full Auxman to kind of give it a little bit more of a forward, mid-rangey kind of push so that I know that it's locked in and it's staying there and it's tight. The last thing I'm going to do on this vocal is I'm pretty much just going to take this and I'm going to push the mid-range of this vocal a little bit. It's probably going to make me turn it down a little bit, which is okay. But I'm going to push the mid-range and make sure that that vocal is prominent up front and it really sits up in the mix. I'm going to turn it to, which I don't need to do, but it's just a force of habit. Turn it to the mid channel, move it down, and I'm going to push it up like so. at about, yes.
Tú me hiciste libre, me sacaste de la oscuridad. Contigo yo sigo hasta el fin, ya no miro para atrás. Yo sigo bendecido por tu gracia, agradecido. Estaba muerto, ahora vivo, por eso llegó la hora de celebrar. Tú me hiciste libre, me sacaste de la oscuridad. Contigo yo sigo hasta el fin, ya no miro para atrás. Yo sigo bendecido por tu gracia, agradecido. Estaba muerto, ahora vivo, por eso tú me hiciste libre, me sacaste de la oscuridad. Contigo yo sigo hasta el fin, ya no miro para atrás. Yo sigo bendecido por tu gracia, agradecido. Estaba muerto, ahora vivo, por eso llegó la hora de celebrar. Tú me hiciste libre, me sacaste de la oscuridad. Contigo yo sigo hasta el fin, ya no miro para atrás. Yo sigo bendecido por tu gracia, agradecido. Estaba muerto, ahora vivo, por eso llegó la hora de celebrar.
Okay, cool. So I just kind of pushed everything forward. I'm going to turn it down just about half, a little like 0.6 dB, and then I'm going to listen to this.
Tú me hiciste libre, me sacaste de la oscuridad. Contigo yo sigo hasta el fin, ya no miro para atrás. Yo sigo bendecido por tu gracia, agradecido. Estaba muerto, ahora vivo, por eso llegó la hora de celebrar.
Cool, feeling good. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up his delay syn and his verb syn and bring his reverb and delay in that he had here, that was printed.
Tú me hiciste libre, me sacaste de la oscuridad. Contigo yo sigo hasta el fin, ya no. Tú me hiciste libre, me sacaste de la oscuridad. Contigo yo sigo hasta el fin. Tú me hiciste libre, me sacaste de la oscuridad. Contigo yo sigo.
I like how that sounds so far. So to me, his vocal just feels, it doesn't feel far from what the rough was, but it feels like it's on a stage in itself. I can feel the reverb. Everything feels like it has just a lot more space, and it just feels better to me, in my opinion, so far. Of course, we're going to do more tweaking to it, but for the most part, just with those plugins, I'm feeling fine. I really don't even feel like I want to add any other plugins. I think I want to kind of perhaps go up there to the high end and kind of tame something in particular that I'm hearing in the high end that I want to control. But other than that, I feel good. I don't feel like I want to do more than that. Once again, I didn't really do any compression. Just because I feel like the vocal was already compressed as is, but I feel like the vocal just has like a feeling and a vibe to it now that it kind of sits in a space, and I just don't want anything to interrupt it. So now when I bring up the instruments and the melodic stuff, if something gets in the way of that feeling that I'm getting from that vocal, I'm like, oh, you need to be EQ'd. I need to make space for you and carve out space to get out of the way so that that vocal still has that presence of I'm here, I'm here. And so this is why I've been doing it like this lately, because I'm maintaining the integrity of the main thing, which is in a song, is that vocal. That vocal has to command the stage. It's the leader. And so I'm just making sure that I am kind of keeping that relationship intact and making sure that nothing else invades it to the point where it just messes it up. So that's it. Yeah, I feel good about that so far.
Tú me hiciste libre, me sacaste de la oscuridad. Contigo yo sigo hasta el fin, ya no miro para atrás. Yo sigo bendecido por tu gracia, agradecido. Estaba muerto, ahora vivo, por eso.
All right, so remember I was talking about the high end. I'm just gonna see something with the de-esser. I love this de-esser for it saturates the range that you want, so it kind of smooths things out in the range that you feel you want to attack and stuff. So let me just see right quick.
Tú me hiciste libre, me sacaste. Agradecido, estaba muerto, ahora vivo, por eso llegó la hora de celebrar. Tú me hiciste libre, me sacaste de la oscuridad. Contigo yo sigo hasta el fin, ya no miro para atrás. Yo sigo bendecido por tu gracia, agradecido. Estaba muerto, ahora vivo, por eso llegó la hora. Tú me hiciste libre, me sacaste de la oscuridad. Contigo yo sigo hasta el fin, ya no miro para atrás. Yo sigo bendecido por tu gracia, agradecido. Estaba muerto, ahora vivo, por eso llegó la hora de celebrar. Tú me hiciste libre, me sacaste de la oscuridad. Contigo yo sigo hasta el fin, ya no miro para atrás. Yo sigo bendecido por tu gracia, agradecido. Estaba muerto, ahora vivo, por eso.
always feel like it took some of that edge off of that high end part of the vocal, and I'm probably gonna do one more, which I don't need to, but I've been really getting particular about high end on vocals as of lately. And it's been really bothering me a lot, and I've been just being very cognizant of it as of lately, and I've been liking the way mixes have been sounding, with really making sure that high end is in check, man. And not letting that thing be so out of control. So I just want to tame it just a little bit more. I got about a dB of gain reduction only, and I'm just trying to make sure it just kind of tames it and keeps it nice and shaved off in that high end.
Yo sigo bendecido por tu gracia, agradecido. Estaba muerto, ahora vivo, por eso llegó la hora de celebrar. Tú me hiciste libre, me sacaste de la oscuridad. Contigo yo sigo hasta el fin, ya no miro para atrás. Yo sigo bendecido por tu gracia, agradecido. Tú me hiciste libre, me sacaste de la oscuridad. Contigo yo sigo hasta el fin, ya no miro para atrás. Yo sigo bendecido por tu gracia, agradecido. Estaba muerto, ahora vivo, por eso llegó la hora de celebrar. Tú me hiciste libre, me sacaste de la oscuridad. Contigo yo sigo hasta el fin, ya no miro para atrás. Yo sigo bendecido por tu gracia, agradecido. Estaba muerto, ahora vivo, por eso llegó la hora de celebrar. Tú me hiciste libre, me sacaste de la oscuridad. Contigo gracias, agradecido. Estaba muerto, ahora vivo, por eso llegó la hora de celebrar. A celebrar. Y no me arrepiento, seguimos 100%, viviendo el momento. Llegó la hora, un brindis para las buenas y las malas. Por la noche largas y las madrugadas.
Feeling great. Now, what I'm gonna do is on his, I feel good with the vocal. I'm cool on that. What I'm gonna do with his sins is I'm gonna get I want to see if I can get rid of some of the low end on it, because it feels a little bit muddy on his reverb. So I'm gonna go to his reverb and just clean that up just a little bit. So where's his reverb? Right here. So let's listen to his reverb. It's a little build up here, so I'm gonna tighten it up a bit. Help with the clarity of the vocal sound. Let's take a listen without.
Tú me hiciste libre, me sacaste de la oscuridad. Contigo yo sigo hasta el fin, ya no miro para atrás. Yo sigo bendecido por tu gracia, agradecido. Estaba muerto, ahora vivo, por eso llegó la hora de celebrar. A celebrar. Y no me arrepiento, seguimos 100%, viviendo el momento.
Yeah, so it kind of cleaned up the low end just a little bit on it, and it kind of made the clarity of the vocal kind of pop forward a little bit in that regard. Still maintaining what, you know, the verb is there to do, but at the same time, just kind of cleaning things up on the bottom of it a little bit. So I really like that. Let's listen to the delay syn now. So it's moving around a bit and stuff like that in the low. So let me just take a look. All right, now let's listen to that to see if that gave me a little bit more clarity on the vocal sound without first.
Tú me hiciste libre, me sacaste de la oscuridad. Contigo yo sigo hasta el fin, ya no miro para atrás. Yo sigo bendecido por tu gracia, agradecido. Estaba muerto, ahora vivo, por eso llegó la hora de celebrar.
Clean things up just a little bit, but that, to me, that makes it's a little move, but it makes a big difference. And just cleaning things up. He said, bruh, that vocal is smacking me in the face now. For sure, it's more upfront. It's leading the charge. I feel like I can actually turn up the snare sound a little bit more now to kind of like rock with that vocal sound, which I'll probably do in a second. So I'm cool on that. I think the only other thing I kind of want to do is add a plate verb just to kind of make Cardec's vocal just a little bit bigger, just kind of stereoize it a little bit, which is not a word, but just make it a little bit bigger. So give me a second.
Tú me hiciste libre, me sacaste de la oscuridad. Contigo yo sigo
made the vocal sound just a little bit more lively and exciting. Let me compare it to my ref. I mean, in so many different ways. I'm just feeling a lot better about it. It just feels thicker and more like, just has an extra layer of set like underneath it. It just feels fuller. I like it. I enjoy it. And I'm not running far from his reference. Like, again, as far as his vocal sound and stuff like that. Moving on. I'm done with his vocal. I feel great about it. Now let's open up his ad-lib next. So let's do his ad-lib next. That ad-lib is throughout the whole thing. So let's listen to his ad-lib. Okay, so I hear that. Yeah. Listen to his reference to see how that feels. Okay, cool. So I'm pretty much in pocket with it as far as volume and stuff like that already. So cool. I'm not mad at it at all already. Let me listen. Just gonna clean up a few things. Just gonna clean up a few things. Now, when it comes to like stuff like this, like ad-libs, I'm not gonna lie. Shout out Tizio for putting my ear on this and just watching him do this. I'm gonna smash this vocal. And the reason why I'm gonna smash it is because I noticed that when it comes to like ad-libs and stuff like that, I enjoy hearing that very tight and in a spot where it's not interfering with my lead. I noticed that when I take dynamics out of an ad-lib and squeeze it more, it gives more notoriety and visibility to the lead vocal because it feels more dynamic. And so I like that contrast of creating a tight ad-lib sound versus a more open sounding lead vocal. And to be honest with you, that helps to separate the two a bit more too. I know that might be a little confusing, but you'll see what I'm saying in a second. So I'm going to smash this a bit. 1 second. So you see me doing like 5 dB of gain reduction on this. I'm going to compensate for the volume. Turn it up. So now I'm smashing it a bit. 1 second. Let's turn it up a little bit more. And I already hear a frequency that I'm like, you got to go. 1 second. There's a frequency, especially in that is bothering me. In that ringing off. Let's find that right quick. Right there, tame. I want to tame that because that ring is, I know that could be a, it's a bit jarring. 1 second. Cool, so got a little bit more control on it, but I'm also going to be able to turn this up a little bit now that I've kind of got that ring out. See how it keeps that tight? It's like, don't ring off like that. Like, stay calm within the grand scheme of things. 1 sec. Okay, cool. And now I can turn it up in the mix a bit. Now that it's tight and in pocket, let me turn it up a bit. hear the background, you know, the ad-lib and stuff, and it's like, but it feels so tight. It's like, I'm not gonna move, I'm gonna stay right here. And then the lead vocal just says, I'm in command, I'm gonna take lead because I feel a little bit more dynamic. Now I'm gonna take it a little step further, and we're gonna open up that black vortex. And I'm just gonna push it just a little further behind the vocal, and then I'm gonna feel comfortable with it.
Celebrar tiempos buenos y los mal. Cuando se pone feo, yo sé que conmigo estás. Tú me hiciste libre, me sacaste de la oscuridad. Contigo yo sigo.
I hear his ad-lib, I know it's there. It feels like it's down the block now. And it's just out of the way of my lead. It doesn't feel like they're competing much. Without first, I'm gonna take off everything I just did.
Y no me arrepiento, seguimos 100%, viviendo el momento. Llegó la hora a celebrar tiempos buenos y los mal. Cuando se
Now with it.
Y no me arrepiento, seguimos 100%, viviendo el momento. Llegó la hora a celebrar tiempos buenos y los mal. Cuando se pone feo,
I like the relationship. It feels like it's just more separation between that vocal, the lead, and the ad-lib, and I just feel like now they're living together and they're not distracting each other, if that makes any sense. It just adds to the ambiance of the whole thing. So enjoying the heck out of that and moving on. Listening to the ref.
Y no me arrepiento, seguimos 100%, viviendo el momento. Y no me arrepiento, seguimos 100%, viviendo el momento. Y no me arrepiento, seguimos 100%, viviendo. Y no me arrepiento, seguimos 100%.
Love hours. Smacking, transients feel nice in the whole nine. Continuing with vocals. Now we're going to the harms. So the harms sound as follows. I'm reading to crash that, crush that. Yeah.
Y no me arrepiento, seguimos 100%, viviendo el momento. Llegó la hora a celebrar. Y no me arrepiento, seguimos 100%.
Okay, let me listen to the original.
Y no me arrepiento, seguimos 100%.
I hear it a decent amount, so I'm going to turn it up a little bit first.
Y no me arrepiento, seguimos 100%, viviendo el momento. Llegó la hora a celebrar.
Cool, so I kind of matched the level of where it was before and just turned it up. And now what I'm going to do is let's just clean it up a bit. It feels a little on the muddier side, which I'm okay with too, because I feel like this is a warm layer. It's not meant to be a bright background vocal. It's more meant to fill things up and just make it feel a little bit warm and plushy, but I'm going to clean it up a little bit.
Y no me arrepiento, seguimos 100%, viviendo el momento. Llegó la hora a celebrar. Y no me arrepiento, seguimos 100%, viviendo el momento. Llegó la hora a celebrar. Y no me arrepiento, seguimos 100%, viviendo el momento. Llegó la hora a celebrar. Y no me arrepiento, seguimos 100%, viviendo el momento.
If you ask me what I'm looking for, I'm kind of just I'm finding those frequencies that I'm like, okay, these frequencies are bothering me just a little bit, so let's just tame them. This is using EQ to kind of balance out the tone of the vocal, and there's a sound in it particular, I'm like, okay, that could be a little easier as far as that 2K, 3K range. I want to ease up on it a little bit.
Y no me arrepiento, seguimos 100%.
And when I do that, it kind of smooths out the vocal a little bit.
Y no me arrepiento, seguimos 100%, viviendo el momento. Llegó la hora a celebrar. Y no me arrepiento, seguimos 100%, viviendo el momento. Llegó la hora a celebrar. Y no me arrepiento, seguimos 100%, viviendo el momento.
Cool, just taming some of the high end up there.
Y no me arrepiento, seguimos ese porcento, viviendo el momento. Llegó la hora de celebrar. Y no me arrepiento, seguimos el porcento, viviendo el momento. Llegó la hora de celebrar.
Not mad at that.
Y no me arrepiento, seguimos el...
I want to get a little bit of control on it on the what's that thing called? On Spec Craft, just a little bit of control on that low end kind of piece of it. And then I think I'm good. I kind of like the way it sounds. I don't want to disrupt what he already likes, man. And it feels good. He did a good job. I feel like he did a good job on just his sound. You know, you can clearly hear that background is processed. So I'm keeping that in mind, and I'm not trying to, you know, change the entire thing of what he did. You know, I'm just trying to like get a little control on it and try to see if I can, you know, make it feel better within the grand scheme of everything. So that part just gets a little, you know, bumpy here and there. So I just want to kind of control that part a little bit.
Y no me arrepiento, seguimos ese porcento, viviendo el momento. Llegó la hora de celebrar. Y no me arrepiento, seguimos ese porcento, viviendo el momento. Y no me arrepiento, seguimos ese porcento, viviendo el momento.
So with me controlling this region now, when it gets a little peaky, it allows me to turn it up. So now during the parts where it's a little quieter, now it feels a little stronger too, because we're compensating for that volume loss that we got or that we created when we dipped off some of that low mid energy. We got a little bit of compression going on that low mid energy to keep it tight and intact, and now it allowed us to turn it up because we saved headroom from that. So now I can get more of that sound out of the actual background vocal. Watch now. Sorry, without first. Just a little fuller. It just kind of fills up the space a little bit more. I also do have an idea. I kind of want to, and this might be a little overkill, but I kind of like how the backgrounds add a little bit of width to the thing, and so I kind of want to accentuate that a bit. So I'm going to open up my eighth note delay and kind of and see what an eighth note delay kind of does to the background harmonies and stuff like that. So where am I? 1-8. Okay, let's see what it sounds like.
Celebrar tiempo y no me arrepiento, seguimos el porcento, viviendo el momento. Llegó la hora de celebrar y no me arrepiento, seguimos el porcento, viviendo.
Kind of gives it a little bit more depth, so I'm going to use that and see what it sounds like.
Y no me arrepiento, seguimos el porcento, viviendo el momento. Llegó la hora de celebrar.
I like it, kind of fills things up a little bit, and I'm just going to black vortex it just to give it a little bit more separation between the lead, and then I'm cool. And I'm going to turn it up a little bit. I'm going to use the preset, the 3D feeling preset.
Y no me arrepiento, seguimos el porcento, viviendo el momento. Y no me arrepiento, seguimos el porcento. Y no me arrepiento, seguimos el porcento, viviendo el momento. Llegó la hora. Y no me arrepiento, seguimos el porcento. Y no me arrepiento, seguimos el porcento.
Feel good. I feel really good about it. Didn't do much of that. I'm going to copy and paste those settings to the other harm track and see what that sounds like. I'm not going to add the eighth note to it though, because I don't want that to pile up. So I'm just going to see what this sounds like.
Llegó la hora de celebrar. Llegó la hora de celebrar.
I want to add a little bit more control to this. 1 second.
Llegó la hora de celebrar.
Yep. Want to do the little control on this. 1 second. To the top end, like right here somewhere. And I want to catch that ch. 1 second.
Llegó la hora a celebrar, llegó la hora a celebrar, a celebrar. Llegó la hora a celebrar, llegó la hora a celebrar.
Nice, feels a little bit more control. Okay, I think that's it for my vocals. I see this Vox fill. Let me just listen to what the Vox fill says. That's more of a sound effect. So I'm going to put that up here instead. So this should have been in the sound effect / impact / swoosh stuff. So I'm going to put it up here. Sometimes that happens where I'll be like, okay, Vox fill. I'm like, I think that's more of a vocal sound. But then I find out, oh, it's more of like a effect. So I'm just throwing it up there. And that's it. And I think it's time for a little break. I'm going to listen to the intro of this song going in. And then I'm probably going to take an ear break for the vocals after and then listen. So let me listen to what this sounds like right quick. Coming in. Let's fast forward because there's no instruments in yet. So.
Y no me arrepiento, seguimos el percento, viviendo el momento. Llegó la hora a celebrar, a celebrar. Y no me arrepiento, seguimos el percento, viviendo el momento. Llegó la hora a celebrar, a celebrar. Tiempos buenos y los mal. Cuando se pone feo, yo sé que conmigo estás. Tú me hiciste libre, me sacaste de la oscuridad. Contigo yo sigo hasta el fin, ya no miro para atrás. Yo sigo bendecido por tu gracia, agradecido. Estaba muerto, ahora vivo, por eso llegó la hora a celebrar. A celebrar. Y no me arrepiento, seguimos el presente, viviendo el momento. Llegó la hora, un brindis para las buenas y las malas. Por la noche larga sin las madrugadas.
And what I'm gonna do right quick is I'm gonna back off on this just a little bit on this limiter because I don't want to be hitting it that hard. Obviously I have most of the stuff in as far as that's going to eat up headroom on that limiter. But just backing off a little bit on my limiter, just a little bit, just to kind of compensate for that. But I feel good so far. But right now I'm gonna take a little break. And yeah, I'm just gonna take a little break, rest my ears, and then we're gonna get to the instruments. And that's it. Okay, and we're back. So long story short, what we're going to do is, and what we're going to work on now is the music. So we're going to mess with the instruments now in the mix. So with that being said, I want to find the most dominant thing in the mix as far as the instruments. And it looks like this this live guitar and this guitar appear to be like the most prominent thing in the mix. So let me just listen to this right quick. They belong together in beautiful harmony. So what I want to do is, I don't want to disrupt Cardec's blend of these two things. Instead, what I'm going to do is I'm going to affect them as one unit because they're happening together a lot. I see a few parts where one is by itself, but for the most part, they're happening together. So I want to affect them together. So I'm going to say, create an aux. I'm going to say guitar aux, like so. And then I'm going to take this, and I'm going to take this and make a new aux. Send 5.6, 5-6 into the bus. Send this out to music. I think it was in music 1. Yeah, it was in music 1. Music 1 bus. And now I'm here. And now I have them and I'm affecting them together. And let's also be very mindful and be very organized. Guitar bus. now I'm just getting a fader mix on it. I'm just finding that same kind of level that he has it at, and then I'm gonna go from there. So I'm just like turning it up to be like, yep, that's kind of where he has it on his reference. Okay, feeling good, feeling great. All right, and now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna group these and solo them. Hey, that was hard. That was hard, Card. I ain't gonna lie, that was kind of tough, bro.
Celebrar, tiempo bueno.
So now I want to find that spot. Shout out Jesse Ray for putting me onto this. I want to find that spot where I feel like I'm getting the most prominence out of this sound. I want to find where the voice of this is and where I feel like it lives as far as, oh, I like when you speak here. I like when I give you more prominence here in this range and you kind of cut through the mix naturally to me and you feel good in this range. So I'm going to raise this up high and then kind of find where the voice of that instrument is to me from a saturation standpoint using Spectre. So to me, I felt like I was like, oh, I kind of like you talking right here at this range, kind of give you a little bit of saturation at that 1.7K range. I was like, oh, I like your voice there. Like you sound, I like you within the grand scheme of hearing everything with you with a little bit more prominence in that range from a saturation standpoint. So just got a little bit more saturation on it in that particular range. And that was it. So that was kind of my like kind of thought process on that as far as hearing it. Moving on. Is I'm going to try to get a little bit more spread on it. I'm not going to use any imagers or anything. Instead, I'm going to use mid-side EQ. What I'm going to try to do is kind of open up the sound a little bit on the sides a bit. And then I'm going to try to carve out a little bit of space for the vocal sound in the mid channel. So putting this in mid-side mode right now. And I feel like I'm going to go into like that 300 hertz range to 400 hertz range of it. Take some of that down in the mids. And then I'm going to give more of that precedent to the side information to kind of make room for the lead vocal, but also making it feel a little bit more stereo in that regard. So let me listen right quick.
100%, viviendo el momento. Llegó la hora a celebrar, a celebrar, a celebrar. Y no me arrepiento, seguimos 100%, viviendo el momento. Llegó la hora a celebrar, a celebrar. Y no me arrepiento, seguimos 100%.
So that kind of opened the sound up a little bit. But on top of that, I kind of want to turn it up now a little bit because now I'm like, oh, I got room to turn this up. Like it doesn't feel like it's interfering with the vocal as much as it was earlier. And I'm going to turn it up just a little bit.
A celebrar. Y no me arrepiento, seguimos 100%. A celebrar. A celebrar. Y no me arrepiento, seguimos 100%.
Cool, feeling cool about that. Now there's something in the low end in particular that I'm just like, be mindful of. I'm like, don't take out too much of the lows on this because it has that warmer sound, but at the same time, something. 1 second. That made no sense what I just said. I know. Just getting a little bit more control on that low, that low kind of thing that's coming through here and there. Especially when I hear it, like I hear it on the impact of the dun with the kick and stuff. So I'm like, calm that down just a little bit to give me a little more clarity.
Y no me arrepiento, seguimos 100%, viviendo el momento. Llegó la hora a celebrar, a celebrar. Tiempos buenos y los mal. Cuando se pone feo, yo sé que conmigo estás. Tú me hiciste libre, me sacaste de la oscuridad. Contigo yo sigo hasta el fin, ya no miro.
Dope, liking it. Just gonna get a little bit more carve out of that particular guitar sound. I'm just gonna take out some of that, like, feel like it's in like that 1K kind of range where I added some saturation. I'm just gonna calm it down just a little bit in that range just to create a little bit more space for that vocal. 1 sec.
A celebrar. Y no me arrepiento, seguimos 100%, viviendo el momento. Llegó la hora a celebrar, a celebrar. Tiempos buenos y los mal. Cuando se pone feo, yo sé que conmigo estás. Tú me hiciste libre, me sacaste de la oscuridad. Contigo yo sigo hasta el fin, ya no miro para
And
atrás.
see how I made that decision based off of the vocal. I was like, yo, that vocal, I love how the vocal's sounding. Get out of my vocals way. Do not interrupt it. And so all these mixing decisions that I just made were based off of me trying to keep that vocal intact and have a space and kind of making it gel itself to that vocal sound, which now I feel like I kind of got it to gel with that vocal sound a bit more. I might do one more thing that might be a little unnecessary, and that is add a little bit of whiff to the sound of this. I'll make this decision. Let me just take a look, listen to what it sounds like. I'm just going to try something.
A celebrar. Y no me arrepiento, seguimos 100%, viviendo el momento. Llegó la hora a celebrar, a celebrar. Tiempos buenos y los mal. Cuando se pone feo, yo sé que conmigo estás. Tú me hiciste libre, me sacaste de la oscuridad. Contigo yo sigo hasta el fin, ya no miro para atrás. A celebrar, a celebrar. Y no me arrepiento, seguimos 100%, viviendo el momento.
I like it. I just want a little bit more control on the whole thing. Just a little more control on the mid-range of it. Just a little bit.
A celebrar. Y no me arrepiento, seguimos 100%, viviendo el momento. Llegó la hora a celebrar. Tiempos buenos y los mal. Cuando se pone feo, yo sé sé que conmigo estás. Tú me hiciste libre, me sacaste de la oscuridad. Contigo yo sigo hasta el fin, ya no miro para atrás. Yo sigo bendecido por tu gracia, agradecido. Estaba muerto, ahora vivo, por eso llegó la hora a celebrar. A celebrar. Y no me arrepiento, seguimos 100%, viviendo el momento. A celebrar. Y no me arrepiento, seguimos 100%, viviendo el momento.
All right, last thing I want to do this. I just want to pick up a little bit of that low level material that I'm hearing kind of drift off a little bit. I'm like, pick that up a little bit. 1 second.
A celebrar. Y no me arrepiento, seguimos 100%, viviendo el momento. A celebrar. Y no me arrepiento, seguimos 100%, viviendo el momento. Llegó la hora a celebrar, tiempos buenos y los mal. Cuando se pone feo, yo sé que conmigo estás. Tú me hiciste libre, me sacaste de la oscuridad. Contigo yo sigo hasta el fin, ya no miro para atrás. Yo sigo bendecido por tu gracia, agradecido. Estaba muerto, ahora vivo, por eso llegó la hora a celebrar. A celebrar. Y no me arrepiento, seguimos 100%, viviendo.
Cool beans. Moving on. So now let's go to the next part, which is, what's the next thing? The guitar. Ooh, 1 second. Well, that is a percussion. There it is, Cardec. There it is. There it is. It is all good. So long story short, what I'm going to do is, this is a part of the perks. So I'm going to put this in the perk, and I'm going to find that balance within it. This is what I felt like I was kind of missing this sound a little bit. 1 second.
Ahora a celebrar. A celebrar. Y no me arrepiento, seguimos. Ahora a celebrar. Ahora a celebrar.
There she is right there. That's what I was looking for that whole time. So there, in particular, in the mix I was listening, and I felt like there was like a certain rhythmic element that I was missing, and that was the rhythmic element that I was looking for this whole time, that I felt like was missing. I just had it in a different section, but now I'm putting it in the drum, in the perk bus, and that's it. Let me also tame it a bit. 1 second.
Y no me arrepiento, seguimos 100%, viviendo el momento. Llegó la hora a celebrar, a celebrar. A celebrar. Y no me arrepiento, seguimos 100%, viviendo el momento. Llegó la hora a celebrar, tiempos buenos y los mal. Cuando se pone feo, yo sé que conmigo estás. Tú me hiciste libre, me sacaste de la oscuridad. Contigo yo sigo hasta el fin, ya no miro para atrás. Yo sigo bendecido por tu gracia, agradecido. Estaba muerto, ahora vivo, por eso estás. Tú me hiciste libre, me sacaste de la oscuridad. Contigo yo sigo hasta el fin, ya no miro para atrás. Yo sigo bendecido por tu gracia, agradecido. Estaba muerto.
Okay, I just want to back off on the guitar a little bit. As far as the mid range of it, I feel like it's getting in the way of the vocal just a little bit. 1 second.
Tú me hiciste libre, me sacaste de la oscuridad. Contigo yo sigo hasta el fin, ya no miro para atrás. Yo sigo bendecido por tu gracia. gracias, agradecido. Estaba muerto, ahora vivo, por eso llegó la hora a celebrar. A celebrar.
Cool with that. All right, moving on. So that's in, we have the analog synth, and we have the reverse piano, and we have a ukulele. My man getting creative as hell. Let me unmute this. Let me listen to this ukulele.
So
now I'm gonna listen to my reference and feel that ukulele that I'm hearing there. Right, let me listen to a part where it's a little louder. The ukulele kind of makes the layer that the ukulele is kind of like making things feel like freedom. Like, I don't know, it just adds a little bit of like life to the whole chorus. So I'm keeping that in mind. Like, okay, cool. I feel like I know what that thing is doing. And I want to accentuate that a little bit. Don't do hard cuts like that, but in this case I was like, you know what, that ukulele, I feel like I could do a nice hard cut on that to kind of get rid of that low stuff, because I really feel like I don't need it down there. So I'm just like using it, and I'm just like, let me get rid of this, ease up on the low mids of it, so that the plucks can come through a little bit more, and then I'm raising the low level material just to get it to be a little more felt. That's it. Cool. And now moving on, let's see this reverse piano. I feel like this is giving me whiff, and so I want to make sure I'm complimenting that, because that's what it feels like it's giving me in the chorus, is the whiff. 1 second. Más 100%, viviendo el momento. No, not like how that sounds on there. 1 second. I'm trying to accentuate that. I'm trying to make sure you feel that with the width on it. I'm sorry, I'm laughing at somebody in the chat. That was funny, Ani. That was funny. She said, "Dang, everybody here." So I use Pan Man to kind of make it feel. I wanted to feel that more. I don't hear it much in his reference, but I want to feel it, and so I'm using Pan Man to kind of move it out the way and kind of make it kind of. You get like this kind of feeling of movement from that. So I'm just giving it that, just accentuating that even more. We're using Pan Man. I think this is my preset, but I got it from the minor movement preset in Pan Man to kind of make things feel a little bit more open sounding. That's it. That's all I'm gonna do for that. Not doing anything else to that. Next, we have the synth. Let's listen to synth. Let's listen to the synth with the other analog synth because I see they look like they're playing together. I'm going to manipulate these together because they are same notes and stuff like that. I could feel them. They just belong together. So I want to manipulate them together. I don't want to mess with Cardec's blend of them. Synth, aux, and we're gonna do this. And we're literally almost done with this mix, by the way. This is going to music. 1 second, bus. Here's this. Boom. 11, 12. 12. Boom. Synth bus. All right, cool. All right. Definitely already see that low end that I'm like, I'm seeing it, but I'm also hearing it just because I know there's sticklers out there that's like, you shouldn't be using just your eyes. Gotcha. No problem. Thank you.
Llegó la hora a celebrar, tiempo bueno y lo
been seeing me boost everything as far as the instruments at like 4 dB and the reason why I'm doing that is because when I put in the live guitar, which is pretty much the most prominent instrument there, I noticed that in reference to the actual reference track, boosting it 4 dB in my session kind of made it the same level as the reference. So I was like, okay, cool. So I would pretty much pick all the instruments up by like 4 dB. So that's why you've been seeing me like, oh, 4 dB. I know that 4 dB is kind of like the spot where it's like all these instruments are probably level at. And so I'm just making my decision from there. Just a heads up, because you've been seeing me do that. And just like, how do you know what number it is? But yeah, 4 dB been like, oh yeah, that's where that instrument was before. Feel it, but once again, in his reference, I feel it too, but it's not the loudest thing in the mix, so I'm just being mindful of that and respecting the mix, and so I got it to be a little bit more heard, a little more felt. Obviously, I compensated, took away some of the low end, gave a little bit of the sheen, kind of that top end away to make sure my vocal and everything still stays like bright and prominent with my drums, and then I turned it up. And just compensated for that volume that I now took down, and boosted. Now I'm boosting more of the stuff that I do want out of it, as opposed to taking the stuff that I didn't want with it. And that was it. got all the instruments in. Yeah, all the instruments are in. The only thing left now is really just the sound effects and stuff like that. Yeah, we're pretty good. The only other thing I'm probably gonna do before I go to the sound effects and all the other stuff, let me make sure. Take down, turn octave. Yeah, these are like more like the sound effects and stuff like that, which is the very last thing I'm gonna do. Let me go to this bass drop and sub bass and dial those in right quick. And then we can move on. So let me just dial this in right quick with the stuff. 1 second. This is a sub bass for real. 1 second. You can't even hear it if you don't have a straight up a sine wave. I'm cool on this. I am gonna listen to the reference. Yeah, I hear little parts of that I want to just control, but nonetheless, let me try to get the level right as far as what it is with the reference. I know I messed up. I made a mistake and put it back to 0. Sorry about that. Okay, not mad at that. Cool. And I'm also going to take this bass drop, and I know it's in reference to that, so I'm going to raise it the same amount. 4.4 dB. Okay, cool. And now that was like a little fader mix, if that made any sense. Okay, cool. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to this, and I'm going to use a little Stuart White trick on that one. I know exactly what I'm going to do to that bass drop. Let's go to sub bass. Why are you so surprised? It's like people here. All right, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna add soothe here to kind of stay with that fundamental, keep it nice and intact, and then I probably can get more out of it that way. So let me save this as my bass preset. I've been meaning to do this. My bass controller. Kind of stays with that fundamental, kind of keeps it in control, like by like a dB or so. Now that I did that, I'm gonna open up Trusty Knock. Kind of similar processing that I had here. 1 sec. One second. Sometimes I'm gonna increase that input on this to get that thing. What you call it? 1 second. I'm gonna turn it way down before I do this. Not getting much from it. 1 second. Oh no, I just messed up. Oh no. Oh no. Hold on. Oh my God, I just messed with the wrong, what you call it. Is there undo? There's no undo button on a knock? No. There's no undo button. Oh my Lord. Oh my Lord, it's a fire. All right, hopefully this is the same. 1 second, I have to check something. Hold on. One second.
Celebrar, a celebrar. Celebrar, celebrar.
Okay, I'm cool. Sorry, I just had to check that because I just manipulated the wrong, Sorry about that. Nice, just add a little bit more sub to it.
No me arrepiento, seguimos 100%, viviendo el momento. Llegó la hora de celebrar. No me arrepiento, seguimos 100%, viviendo el momento. Llegó la hora de celebrar. No me arrepiento, seguimos 100%, viviendo el momento.
This thing is pretty much already a brick. So what I'm gonna do instead of adding compression is I'm gonna bring this limiter in to kind of see if it can beef it, just give it a little bit more weight, and that is it. But it's already pretty much bricked out. One second.
No me arrepiento, seguimos 100%, viviendo el momento. Llegó la hora de celebrar.
As a matter of fact, no, I'm not. I'm gonna leave that thing alone. It's pretty much already bricked out. So let me just do a little bit of compression just for my sanity. 1 second. So I'm not gonna apply any limiting to that. Oh, Nectar. Whoa, I was about to open up a whole nother plugin. 1 second. Neutron 4 compressor. All right, up, down low.
No me arrepiento, seguimos 100%, viviendo el momento.
So what I was looking for was just a little bit of boom, boom, boom. I'm still looking for a little bit of that kind of movement from it to kind of still feel a little punchy, but at the same time control it and just like stay down, relax, take it easy. But I'm still looking for, when I'm messing with the release, I'm still looking for the boom, boom. I'm looking for the feeling of it, and that's where I just landed just now with that. But just kind of tighten up the bass sound a little bit.
No me arrepiento, seguimos 100%, viviendo el momento. Llegó la. No me arrepiento, seguimos 100%, viviendo. No me arrepiento, seguimos 100%, viviendo el momento. Llegó la.
Got you. I was a little tighter. I could turn it up some more, but I'm cool because I like the impact of it when the song comes in on that side, so I'm gonna leave that alone. Now I'm gonna go to this bass drop part. Follow that fundamental. 1 second. Cool. That's going to follow it down. Keep it tight. And then what I'm going to do is just add some sub to it because we like sub. One second. Just need some more input. Let's turn it down, though, significantly. Compensating for that volume because I don't want it to be, I want it to be a 1-to-1 for the most part. Okay, cool. And I think I'm gonna leave it wide open like that.
Un brindis pa' las buenas y las malas, por la noche largas y las madrugadas. Y no me arrepiento, seguimos 100%, viviendo el momento. Llegó la hora de celebrar.
All right, so what I want to do is I'm gonna turn this bass, sub bass down just a little bit because I want to create that contrast between that sub bass, and then when the actual bass comes in for the log drum bass, as far as the driving of the chorus, I want it to be impactful. So I'm going to turn down the sub bass on here just down a little bit, so that when the log drum bass comes in, it's boom, it comes in a little bit more commanding. So turning it down more. Better. I want to get a little bit more control on that thing. 1 second. Just tighten it just a little bit. Cool. Just controlled it just a little bit so that the impact of the when it actually comes in feels a little bit stronger. Cool on that. All right, all the instruments are in for the most part. I probably missed a few with the with some of the sound with some of these things probably, but for the most part, I'm gonna take a small little break. It's late. Ooh, sorry. I'm gonna take a small little break, and then I'll come back and we're gonna finish the mix. And that'll be our last break, and then that'll be it. So small little break. Okay, so we're getting back to it, and we're doing the sound effects. Now, chances are for me, I'm going to take all of the sound effects, listen to it, and I'm going to turn it up uniformly, because in my head, when it comes to swooshes and impacts and stuff, the way that Cardec has balanced them, I want to maintain that integrity. So if I feel like, oh, this sound effect could be a little louder, what I'm going to do is off of my fader mix, I'm just going to boost everything uniformly first before I decide to do any like real in-depth mixing and stuff like that. I'm going to find where I feel like the sound effects kind of live and should be from a level standpoint of our new level, and then I'm going to go from there. So with that being said, let me just take a listen to a few things that I feel like might not be sound effects that I might have put in the wrong spot. So let me just check some stuff right quick. So I consider it at a sound effect as well, even though it's like it has a very percussive kind of vibe to it. Vocal fill. Let me see this Vox fill. Yeah, that's a sound effect to me. Let's change the color so I'm not confused. Sorry. Color palette. Boom. And he tracks. Here it is. Okay, cool. And now I'm good. All right. So now let's pull this stuff up uniformly. So I'm going to just call this sound effects, group them, and now I'm going to turn them on, and then I'm going to turn them, not to turn them down, but let's just see where they are. So that da is going to be kind of my reference point. So listening to it in the ref. All right, so we're a little quieter, so I'm gonna turn it up a bit. So let's turn it up about 2 dB. 1, 2. Here we go. Cool, feel good.
Un brindis para las buenas y las malas, por la noche largas y las madrugadas, y no me arrepiento, seguimos 100%, viviendo el momento, llegó la hora a celebrar, y no me arrepiento, seguimos 100%, viviendo el momento, llegó la hora a celebrar, a celebrar.
Cool. Feel good. And like I said, I use that as a reference, and now I'm kind of matching the reference as far as the sound effects is concerned. And now I'm going to dive into the actual individual sounds. So that I can take this grouping off, and because I know my levels are pretty on point with his reference, and now I'm going to go from there. So just want to catch that pokey part that's poking out, and that's it. Nothing on that in particular. So let's clean that up a little bit so I can hear it a little bit more better. There's a cloudiness to it that I just want to kind of clean up a little bit.
Pa' las buenas y las malas, por la noche largas y las madrugadas, y no brindis pa' las buenas y las malas, por la brindis pa' las buenas y las malas.
So I don't hear it much in his reference at all, and I'm gonna respect that in his mix, but I am gonna get it a little. I wanna hear it just a little bit. So I'm just gonna get it a little bit more felt.
Y no me arrepiento, se brindis pa' las buenas y las malas, por la noche largas y las madrugadas, y no me arrepiento, seguimos 100%, viviendo el momento, brindis pa' las buenas y las malas, por la noche largas y las madrugadas, y no me arrepiento, seguimos en brindis pa' las buenas y las malas, por la noche largas y no me arrepiento, seguimos en.
Cool, just give it a little bit more feeling, but nonetheless, it's not. I don't hear it in his reference like that, so I'm not gonna just try to accentuate that any more than I have already. Was this Vox Atmos? This is an opportunity here. Let's bring that up just a bit.
Buenas y las malas, por la noche largas y las madrugadas. Oh, llegó la hora, brindis pa' las buenas y las malas, por la noche largas y las madrugadas, y no me arrepiento, seguimos 100%, viviendo el momento. Brindis pa' las buenas y las malas, por la noche. Brindis pa' las buenas y las malas, por la noche largas y las malas.
Again, not trying to make it this loud thing in the mix because it's not loud in his reference, so I'm just being mindful of that. Again, moving on. So that's all good Vox movement. Let's look at this. Gonna expand this a bit. Open it up. Now that I've kind of made it kind of move a little bit, I can hear it a little bit more. So I'm just turning it down a little bit just to keep it in that felt kind of place. And I can already hear that I'm probably going to turn up the lead vocal a little bit, but I'm going to do that last. Now I'm going to the, let's see. So these I've kind of looked at. Let's look at this vocal sample here. Just turn it up a little bit. That was it. That's it. Nothing on that. Just turned it up a bit more. Tribal chant. Let's listen to that. All right, now with that, I do have an idea. One second. Two things. I'm gonna tame the top of it a little bit, and then I'm gonna make it stereoize it a bit, which is not a word, but I want to make it feel a little more stereo. Kind of cleaned it up a little bit, tamed some of the high end and got rid of some of that low stuff. And now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna add this doubler plugin and kind of open up the sound effect, which I have a preset called open up the sound effect, ironically, without. Kind of makes things feel a little more stereo. Let's see what it sounds like. Kind of gives it a little bit more sensation and the stereo feel like shoof. And that's it. Yeah, that was funny. I said shoof. Cool. So that's there. Moving on. I love that. I love down swells. Just gonna tame it just a little bit on the top end of it. Cool. And since I took down some of that high end and stuff like that, I turned it up. I was like, okay, cool. Now it kind of feels a little warmer in its plushiness, which I want it to be bright, and I'm still maintaining that brightness. It's not like I took all the high end out, but it kind of feels a little warm and plushier in its sizzle. I feel like I want to make it more stereo, but I kind of want to leave that for the impact hits instead. So I'm going to leave that for the impact hits. Let me see what it sounds like. Hold on one second. It sounds nice though, and I'm just gonna stick with it. Let's turn down the high end on this a little bit. It kind of just opens things up, so I'm gonna leave it. Yeah, it kind of opens up the sound effect sound and that sheeny kind of feel. I like it, so I'm just gonna leave that on. Moving on. Let's make sure. Like I said, when it comes to these sound effects, I've seen TZO a lot, and you know, just taming that high end on these, and just like that harsh, you know, 3K kind, just making sure those are in line to me, and just like not too much is important to me as of recent.
Humorindis pa las buenas y las malas. Humorindis pa las buenas y las malas. Humorindis pa las buenas y las malas. Por la humorindis pa las buenas y las malas. Por la noche larga así. Seguimos 100% viviendo el momento.
Listen to the reference, see what that reference is feeling like.
Seguimos 100% viviendo el momento. Llegó la hora.
I don't even hear it here. 1 second.
Seguimos 100% viviendo el momento. Llegó la hora. Seguimos 100% viviendo el momento.
Yo, Dev, what is your center bus preset? I'll show you. Someone just asked what my center bus preset is. I'll show you. Remind me at the very end. I'll show you what that center aux is. It's in my store too, by the way. The full Auxman, you can get it like and just have it of what it is. It's like a DBX compressor and and just a mono. It's the imager monoing it. It's like a solid mid kind of thing. Just a mid up the middle, super parallel compressed signal. And that's it.
Seguimos 100% viviendo el momento.
So I kind of want to move this out. I kind of want this to fill up over here on the side. And I am going to experiment with something right quick. 1 second. I kind of want to give it a little bit more side information. And then neutron. Neutron, I want you to calm down the like the hit of it. 1 second. In the body of it. Oh wow, I was like, what EQ is that? That is Nectar. Neutron 4 equalizer. The neutron compressor is amazing. Love that joint. Yeah, it's fire for sure. It's super fire. I'm actually gonna roll off some of the low end on that because I just feel like it's unnecessary for this, so I'm just moving it out the way.
Seguimos 100% viviendo el momento. Llegó la hora a celebrar. A celebrar. Y no me
Gonna raise some side information in it.
Seguimos 100% viviendo el momento. Llegó la hora a celebrar. Seguimos 100% viviendo el momento. Llegó la hora.
So once again, respecting his mix and his balance, but just giving it a little bit more side information so I can kind of feel something happening on the sides. Like I want to feel that rise just a little bit in reference to his reference, but I don't want to overpower the mix when that's not what he put in there in his rough. So I'm just kind of just like raising a little bit of side information to kind of make it feel a little bit more surrounding, like something's happening. And that's it. Moving on. We are almost there. Just want to control some high end on that. That's it.
Llegó la hora a celebrar. A celebrar. Y no me arrepiento. Seguimos en y no me arrepiento. Y no me arrepiento. Seguimos en
So not much there. as far as like the volume of that, but I'm gonna lift it up a little bit. I'm gonna lift it up just a little bit.
Y no me arrepiento, seguimos 100% solas. Y no me arrepiento, seguimos.
Cool, just kind of lifted it up a little bit just to kind of help it sustain a bit more so I can hear it a little bit more. And then I'm going to take Neutron just to clean it up, make sure it's not like messing with the vocals too much.
Solas. Y no me arrepiento, solas. Y no me arrepiento, seguimos 100% solas. Y no me arrepiento, seguimos 100% solas. Y no me arrepiento, seguimos 100%.
Cool, I hear it a little bit more, I can feel a little bit more, but it's not interfering with the vocal as much, and it kind of feels a little cleaner. Is that the last thing that I see? Okay, what about this Vox sample? Oh yeah, I just turned that up. I think that's it. Synth, let's check this out. I'm pretty cool on that. What I will is I will put that doubler on just to kind of give it a little bit more stereo feel. Everything's in. Now I'm gonna listen to my reference right quick. Everything's in. I'm gonna turn up Cardec's lead vocal just a little bit. So we're gonna turn up all his vocals just a wee bit. I'm not gonna do it from that from my 8 auxes. I'm just gonna grab it right here, which I could do at any time. All Vox. So turn it up just about a dB. Now that everything's in. Cool, feeling good. And now what I'm gonna do is let's do some mix bus stuff and just tighten this up, and then we're out of here. And we're done, sir skis. So now, shout out Ocean. I just took his whole vibe. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna add this MV. First thing I'm gonna do in this mix bus is get a little bit more excitement out of it from a mid-range standpoint in a whole 9. I also feel like I want to put a little bit more mid-range in his vocal. Give me 2 seconds. Cool, feel good. And now what I'm gonna do is with this in particular is I'm going to get a little bit more pop out of the entire thing. So I'm gonna make it a little bit more exciting and make things just kind of feel a little bit more dynamic and that's it. So this is something that I've gotten this trick from Luca Predalesi. He since opened this preset up on the C2, which I've yet to jump to go to get, but I'm definitely gonna go and get that preset from Luca Predalesi as far as his technique. He basically ignores everything on the top, on the in the side information. Excuse me. How can I explain this? For this mid-range, right? He ignores everything in the side information. He just focuses on the mid-range of the mid information. He then compresses it just a little bit and boosts it, and it kind of gives him a little bit more excitement on it, and it kind of makes things a little bit louder, but also a little bit more controlled, but it gives him a nice presence in the mids. And then I took it a step further and said, hey, in the sides, I want the sides to kind of give me a little bit more dynamics when it crosses a certain threshold. Now, granted, I'm not exactly sure if the MB is actually affecting side information or is just reacting to it, but I still just like the way this preset that I created just sounds in it. So just a little backstory for people, but nonetheless, I do have to investigate that a little more, but I did get inspired for this by Luca Predalesi for sure. Moving on. Things just feel a little bit more exciting, and that's it. That's basically all I'm using it for. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to come on over to master plan. Sometimes I'll use gold clip, but in this scenario, I kind of don't. Let me take a look at it. 1 second. Just thicken things up just a little bit with the gold clip, and then the last thing I'm gonna do is just a little master plan on it just to open the sound up a little bit. I really got to download the newest master plan. I still have the beta, which is I'm making a huge mistake because I'm on all my mixes. I have the beta, and one day this is gonna be obsolete and I'm gonna be screwed. All right, so basically I'm just gonna add a little bit more width to the sound. Using master plan, and then I'm gonna regain stage a little bit, kind of with my limiter, kind of find that spot, and then go from there. So 1 second. Little thing here just to control those peaks, and then I'm done.
Agradecido, por tu gracia, agradecido. Estábamos buenas y las malas. Tú me hiciste libre, me sacaste de la oscuridad. Contigo yo sigo hasta el fin, ya no miro para atrás. Yo sigo bendecido por tu gracia, agradecido. Estaba muerto, ahora vivo, por eso llegó la hora a celebrar. A celebrar. Tú me hiciste libre, me sacaste de la oscuridad. Contigo yo sigo hasta el fin. Tú me hiciste libre, me sacaste de la oscuridad. Contigo yo sigo hasta el fin, ya no miro para atrás. Yo sigo bendecido por tu gracia, agradecido. Estaba muerto, ahora vivo, por eso llegó la hora a celebrar. A celebrar. Y no me arrepiento, seguimos 100%, viviendo el momento. Llegó la hora. Tú me hiciste libre, me sacaste de la oscuridad. Contigo. Tú me hiciste libre, me sacaste de la oscuridad. Contigo yo sigo hasta el fin, ya no. Tú me hiciste libre, me sacaste de la oscuridad. Contigo yo sigo hasta el fin, ya no miro para atrás. Yo sigo bendecido por tu gracia, agradecido. Estaba muerto, ahora vivo, por eso llegó la hora a celebrar. A celebrar.
And I'm not mad at my limiter occasionally seeing like that 2 kind of hitting on the guard particle. As long as it's not working hard all the time, I'm not really too worried about it. But for the most part, I feel good. I feel okay about it. Let me just check something with my gold clip and just see what this is doing. Just kind of A/B the sound. 1 second.
Tú me hiciste libre, me sacaste de la oscuridad. Contigo yo sigo hasta el fin, ya no miro para atrás. Yo sigo bendecido por tu gracia, agradecido. Estaba muerto, ahora vivo, por eso llegó la hora a celebrar.
Now, I could get this louder. I noticed when I take it off, like that soft clipper is kind of taming things. Like that's what I seen. It was 3, but the soft clipper is kind of taking off a dB. I could make it louder. I don't think I want to, because the ref was already pretty loud as is. So I don't want to make it any. Honestly, I don't feel like I need to make it louder than that. I'm hitting -7 on my short term, so I'm already feeling cool. I feel like I'm competitive. Let me check one more time to see what my short term is hitting at on its peaks.
Tú me hiciste libre, me sacaste de la oscuridad. Contigo yo sigo hasta el fin, ya no miro para atrás. Yo sigo bendecido por tu gracia, agradecido. Estaba muerto, ahora vivo, por eso llegó la hora a celebrar.
Cool. I feel cool about it. This is that moment in the mix where I'm just like, walk away. You know, it's time to just kind of take the day, come back to it tomorrow, take a listen, and then decide, listen to it on a few things. Right now, I feel like in my head, I'm just like, I kind of feel like I want to put a little more mid-range into the whole thing. But this is that moment where I would send it to the client and kind of see, you know, what falls from the tree as far as everything, as far as what he says. I feel like I want to add a little more mid-range to his vocal. But again, who am I, right? It's his song. So I just want to make sure that I'm pleasing the client and stuff like that. Just for fun, I do want to see what it sounds like if I just kind of raise the mid-range a little bit. 1 second, just for fun. It's going to move this over. Sent to Cardec with the eyes emojis. I'm dead. I'm reading in the group chat, in the Discord. 1 second.
Tú me hiciste libre, me sacaste de la oscuridad. Contigo yo sigo hasta el fin, ya no miro para atrás. Yo sigo bendecido por tu gracia, agradecido.
He gonna catch this one. I'm sorry. I want to put a little more mid-range. I like the way that sounds, so I'm putting a little bit more mid-range into the entire vocal sound, and I'm enjoying it. It just has a little bit more presence on it.
Tú me hiciste libre, me sacaste de la oscuridad. Contigo yo sigo hasta el fin. Tú me hiciste libre, me sacaste de la oscuridad. Contigo yo sigo hasta el fin, ya no miro para atrás. Tú me hiciste libre, me sacaste de la oscuridad. Contigo yo sigo hasta el fin, ya no miro para atrás. Yo sigo bendecido por tu gracia, agradecido. Estaba muerto, ahora vivo, por eso llegó la hora a celebrar. A celebrar.
seeing a world where I'm turning down a vocal a little bit more in order to make it fit inside the beat a little bit more, but that'll be up to him in that regard. I'm gonna turn it down probably just a little bit for me as far as his lead, to kind of let it sit a little bit now that we got this newfound mid-range to kind of sit in the mix. I'm gonna turn it down about half a dB for the most part, and then I'm gonna leave it up to him. Just gonna take one final little listen. We're pretty loud. I might turn it down some, to be honest with you, from a limiter standpoint, but yeah, let's just take a listen, one last listen. Let's go over here.
A celebrar, a celebrar. Y no me arrepiento, seguimos 100%, viviendo el momento. Llegó la hora, yo sigo bendecido por tu gracia, agradecido. Yo sigo bendecido por tu gracia, agradecido. Yo sigo bendecido por tu gracia, agradecido. Estaba muerto, ahora vivo, por eso llegó la hora de celebrar. Yeah, yeah, yeah. En el vitalino. Hey, nobody rompiste, papi.
Cool, feel good. Impact sounds might need to come up and stuff like that, but here's that moment in the mix where it's just time to walk away and come back to it tomorrow and perhaps make those final little tweaks before I send it off to the client, and that's it. But I feel good when I listen to our rough versus our mix.
Estás con Messi, te libré, me sacaste de la oscuridad. Contigo yo sigo hasta el fin, ya no miro para atrás. Estás con Messi, te libré, me sacaste de la oscuridad. Contigo yo sigo hasta el fin, ya no miro para atrás. Yo sigo bendecido por tu.
I feel pretty cool about that. Might put a little spec craft at the very end of my mix bus just to tame some of the high end, just to make sure that I'm not like getting too much of that brightness and stuff like that, and that's it. But hope you enjoyed this mix from start to finish. This isn't the final. I put that at the beginning of the video, so you probably heard it at the approved version at the very beginning of the video, but this is where I stop. This is where I'm done. This is where I walk away for the day. Come back tomorrow, kind of listen to it and go, oh, a few things I want to tweak, and then I'll send it up to the client for their notes and figure out if I am in the right place. But once again, when you listen to that ref versus the mix, it's not far, but nonetheless, it feels like an improvement to me personally. It doesn't feel like I just completely changed his sonics and ran away from what he was trying to do, but for the most part, it feels like there's just a lot more weight, more body, and just more image inside the entire thing, and that's it. And I feel like I've done what I could do for the record for the moment. So yeah, so I'm gonna call it a day for now. Please leave any comments, questions, or concerns at any time as far as what you saw, what you have questions on. And then I'll also say, if you're not a member, you should definitely join. Like I said, my members are in here right now in the Discord watching this live. In between my breaks, we were having conversations about this. It's really dope. It's really powerful to me, and I really do enjoy it. But yeah, any comment, questions, or concerns, let me know. Thank you so much for watching the video. Until next time.